Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World. Today we're heading to Bonnie, Scotland. From Highland hospitality and haggis to what shocks travelers and what to avoid, we're bringing you everything you need to know to enjoy your Scottish adventure. So here goes with 100-ish hours of Scotland. And the first don't I have you when you come to Scotland is don't call the Scottish people English. Look, two different countries with a long history of a little animosity, a little bit more than a little animosity out there. So your best bet is don't call them English. Now, they are part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but so the British, it's okay, but they are not English. That's the first thing you should do. Don't call them English. My second don't I have for you is if you're going to be coming here and you need to buy anything, don't expect stores to be open past 6 o'clock. Some stores in some bigger cities will be open later, but in general, if you're going to be going to places like Isle of Skye or Inverness or here in Aberdeen, just know by 6, pretty much most everything's closed and the shopping areas can be ghost towns. So do check ahead if you do need to do some shopping. What are some places that are open up later so you can go pick some stuff up? But if you're in some of the smaller villages that you really should visit, make sure you get all your tour shopping done by 5 or 6, okay? Now, my third don't for you when you come here is, look, Scotland is great to bring your family. We're here with the boys and have a great time. But one of the don'ts I have for you is don't try to take your kids out to dinner late at a pub. Pubs won't let kids in after 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and some pubs don't let kids in at all, even if they have food and stuff like that. So if you're walking around like, let's get some pub grub that kids tend to like, you might not be able to get them in, so just a heads up for that one. But overall, very kid-friendly, but don't try to take your pubs late night, obviously, or in the evening for a later dinner, because they won't be let in. And that means you won't be let in either. Now, my fourth don't for you is don't just stay in Edinburgh. I know Edinburgh is fantastic. It is gorgeous, whether you have Edinburgh Castle up on the top or Holyrood, house at the bottom, or the hills you can hike, and all the cool stuff here, the Museum of Childhood. There's so much great stuff in Edinburgh that most people just go there, see that, and then maybe check out Glasgow or something, or Stirling. Look, you've got to explore this country. It is fantastic. Whether you're going to the Isle of Skye or the Highlands or whatever, you want to get out to nature and see more than just the beautiful city of Edinburgh. So do that. And a lot of people make that mistake. They don't get out and explore. You really should. Now, my next don't for you is don't forget they drive on the left here. So make sure you're looking both directions multiple times if you're not used to it. And you're going to need to rent a car when you're here to really see all the stuff. So don't be afraid to rent a car. It will take you some time to get used to the roundabouts and the tiny skinny roads and stuff like that. But the benefits of having your own car and driving around is way better than taking public transport. Now, don't get me wrong. They've got good buses and trains, beautiful trains. You can go and see some amazing not architecture, but nature out there. But seriously, you need a car to get around. So just don't forget, drive on the left, and don't be scared to rent a car when you're here. Now, when you are driving around, one of the don'ts I have for you is don't be afraid to talk to the locals or ask them a question. Hey, I got lost. Where should I go? What's the best direction? Where's the best place to eat? Where's a good pub? These kind of things, because the locals are super friendly to the tourists that come here, which is crazy when you have so many tourists that don't know how to drive on the left-hand side and drive slow and all these things. The people still are super nice to the tourists, and that's one thing I really enjoy. The Scottish people have been so hospitable to us multiple times when we've come here that's why we always love coming back. I mean, Jocelyn loves it here so much. She says, Mark, why don't we find you a job here? Yeah, my ancestors, they actually taught it here when it was King's College before it was Aberdeen University. And she's like, hey, we could come back and keep the family legacy going. I mean, and a lot of that comes down to the really nice people you will see here in Scotland. So don't be afraid to ask directions or where the nearest pub is or a place to go eat when you're with your kids in case they can't go in. People will be very helpful with you. Now, our next don't actually is to do with those locals is don't be afraid if you don't understand them. Look, Scotland, sometimes people have a pretty strong accent. If you're from the US or you're non-native speaker, sometimes it can be difficult to understand. So don't be upset if you go, are they speaking English? Yes, they are. They just have kind of a little Scottish drawl there for you, okay? So don't freak out about that. The next don't I have for you has to deal with the food. Don't feel obliged to eat the haggis and black pudding and white pudding and all these things that maybe aren't to your taste. Look, there's a lot of really good Scottish food like Scottish salmon and the Scottish pies and stuff like that are the Scotch eggs. Oh my God, the food here is really great. But the thing is, most people, when they think of Scottish food, think of haggis, which is like ground up organ meat stuffed in an intestine, or black pudding, which is, basically sausage made out of blood. And people are like, oh my God, look, don't feel like you have to have those. They will have them on your like breakfast buffets and stuff like that. And if you want to have something, I recommend maybe getting like a haggis meatball or black pudding meatballs as an appetizer, and then go have some of the other good foods that are here. So don't feel obligated to eat the really interesting food here, because there's some really great stuff out here. Now, my next don't for you has to do with what you're going to buy when you come here. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can get here and fun souvenirs and stuff. But one thing is, I see tourists going in and they're buying kilts when you're here. And that's why I think another don't I'm going to have for you is, don't buy a kilt when you come to Scotland. One, because they're expensive, and as a tourist, you know, you're buying expensive things. That's really nice though. But what really is are you really going to wear a kilt? Now, if your ancestors are Scottish, you know, and you're going to be using it at weddings and other functions, then sure, go ahead, go crazy. They cost hundreds to thousands of pounds, okay? But if you're a tourist, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get a kilt to take home with me and wear on Halloween. Man, that's going to be probably your most expensive Halloween costume you've ever had. So I just want to give you a heads up for that. Maybe it's don't buy one, but really think about it before you do. Now, my next don't deals with the beautiful nature they have here in Scotland. I mean, it is gorgeous here, whether you're in the Highlands or wherever. I mean, it's just gorgeous. But the thing is, with that gorgeous nature comes midges, bugs that will bite you with these little red dots all over you. And the thing is, my don't for that is, don't forget to bring some good bug spray, because you're going to need it to keep those midges away, especially if you're going to like Isle of Skye and places like that on the west coast. You really will have some issues there. Now, my next don't for you has to do with accommodation, and I will tell you this: you're going to want to come to Scotland and you'll see how gorgeous it is, and you're going to want to come and stay longer and longer and longer, and you want to stay at the best B&Bs, the cutest locations, because there's so many B&Bs and hotels and restaurants and all kinds of places that are just the most quaint, beautiful places. But you can't get in because you didn't reserve in time. So my don't for this one is, don't wait to reserve your B&B and where you're going to stay, your accommodation here in Scotland, because it sells out a couple months in advance or more in advance in some of these nicer places. So make sure, once you decide we're going to Scotland, go and find those B&Bs and book them right away, because you may want to stay on the Isle of Skye, but hey, there might not be any vacancies available. I know when we went, I mean, we were planning a few months in advance and we could not get anything on Skye, so we stayed in this cute little town called Plockton, which, hey, turned out to be great anyway, because let's be honest, pretty much anywhere you go in Scotland looks like a postcard. But when we were there, we wanted to stay on Skye, but we couldn't, so we ended up in Plockton, which was great. But we couldn't get there because we didn't reserve in time. So don't wait to reserve those B&Bs. And if you're in one of these smaller towns, you might want to reserve a spot in the restaurants for dinner time, because they have limited space. So just heads up for that one. Another don't I have for you, if you're going to be staying in these small towns, is realize there's not always an ATM everywhere you're going to be. So have some extra cash when you get out of the airport and stuff like that. They take pounds here, and you might see Scottish pounds or British pounds. It's the same thing. You'll be fine. But I know we were in Plockton and some other places. Sometimes the ATM drives up only a few days a week, so always good to have some cash on hand. So don't just think you're going to use card all the time. Do have some cash with you. Now, my last don't for here in Aberdeen is, don't think that you're close when the map shows you close, because it may be that it's only like 50 miles. You think, oh, 50 miles, that's going to take me 50 minutes. Oh, no. With the roads, how they wind, and you're going by the first, and you're going by the locks and all the glens and stuff like that. It's gorgeous, but you're going to slow down. It's going to take you time. So it might be 50 miles, but it might take you an hour and a half to get there, an hour and 15 minutes to get there. So make sure you do kind of plan that when you are driving. And the first mistake I think tourists make when they come here is they don't buy the passes. Look, when you're going to go see the sites, a lot of times there's passes that will include multiple sites that you can go see that'll be on one ticket. Maybe you'll get a 2-day pass, or you can buy a membership. There's Historic Scotland, there's the National Trust for Scotland, and they'll actually sell passes for you that'll get you in the entrance into all kinds of really great sites. And the thing is, if you're going to see more than like 2 of the sites, it pays for itself. If you just get like a short, like, you know, traveler's ticket kind of stuff, it's well worth doing it. So make sure you're saving some money that way. Don't leave money on the table, okay? Now, the second mistake we see tourists make when they come here is they think that everyone will be glad to take their Scottish pounds when they leave Scotland. For those who don't know, you use the British pound here in Scotland as a currency, but there's also special notes from Scottish banks, from the Royal Bank of Scotland, the Bank of Scotland, Clydesdale Bank, that are Scottish pounds. So you can have 4 different versions of a 20-pound note or a 10-pound note. And the thing is, when you leave Scotland, not everybody really likes the Scottish pounds. Now, everywhere in Scotland, people will take it. In most places in England, they'll take them as well. Some people might not, like they might not be too happy with it. but it's just one of those things to think about. But the big issue is when you leave the UK and you try to exchange them at an exchange house. Like if you're in Hungary, go in there and try to exchange, they might not take them. So it's best when you're leaving to try to get some of the pounds, let's say from Bank of England, instead of the Bank of Scotland, Royal Bank of Scotland, or Clydesdale Bank. So just have the heads up on that one. Now, my next mistake actually is going to deal with Edinburgh, because I know most of the tourists that come to Scotland just go to Edinburgh and kind of take off. And so I think a good mistake I see people make is when they see the tourist map of Edinburgh, they think it's flat there. Look, you need to understand that tourist map of Edinburgh makes it look so simple to get around, but you have some pretty big hills you're going to have to deal with when you're there. So make sure, before you come to Scotland, practice up on some hiking and some walking, because you're going to have a little hill to go up. That Royal Mile, it starts here and ends up here, okay? So do have a heads up for that one. Now, the next mistake we see tourists make when they come here is buying a kilt. Look, if you want to buy a kilt, that's great, fantastic, go ahead. Help the Scottish economy. I know they appreciate it, so do that. But the thing is one, when are you going to wear a kilt outside of Scotland, okay? That's one of the things, because they're not cheap to get. Like, you're going to spend some money to get a nice kilt. And the thing is don't just buy one randomly. If you have Scottish history or Scottish ancestry like we do, we have multiple families that are Scottish in our ancestry, so we can choose different kind of, patterns or tartans that we could wear for our kilts. The thing is, if you have a history and you want to buy one, find out which clan you are and get that one, because you don't want to have the wrong one out there. Also, a lot of times you'll see tourists that'll buy them and they have no clue how to wear them. So make sure if you do buy one, don't make the mistake of not having them teach you how to wear it, so you actually can wear it the right way. And kind of going along with that is this mistake that people think that Scots really wear kilts all the time. Look, they don't wear kilts all the time. It's more like if they work in the tourism industry, they might have it on, or if there's like a formal gathering, like a wedding or something like that, then they might wear them. But in general, yeah, you're not seeing too many kilts around, all right? Another mistake that tourists make when they come here to Scotland is they just go to Edinburgh and Glasgow with maybe a day trip to Stirling in between, and then they take off. You really need to get out and explore Scotland. This place is gorgeous. We're here in the Shetland Islands, and seeing the cliffs up here, seeing all the islands and the coastline, seeing the stone structures, the blocks and stuff like that. It's so cool. Trying to go find Nessie at Loch Ness, going to the Isle of Skye and see the waterfalls there. Oh my gosh, the formations there. Going through the Highlands. It's just such a beautiful country, and you got to get out there and enjoy it. And the thing is, though, most people just stick Edinburgh, Glasgow, maybe Stirling, and take off. You need to get out more. And I think the reason why is actually probably our next mistake. And that mistake is people give up on the thought of driving here in Scotland. Once they hear they drive on the left side. I cannot tell you how many people have written to us and called us and talked to us saying, I'd love to go to Scotland, but I'm scared to drive on the left-hand side of the road. So don't come. The thing is, just don't worry. What I recommend, watch some videos online about driving on the left side. That will make you feel better. Take your time when you're here. Have patience. Concentrate. There's no filming yourself. Look, I'm driving on the other side of the road. No, you're not doing that, all right? Don't do those things. Focus on the road. Get a good GPS for the car. The phone ones aren't as good as the car ones, so get that. So you feel more comfortable driving around, and it will make it a lot easier, because believe me, there's so many castles and sites to go see throughout the country that you can't really get to very well with public transportation, or can't go to at all, that you really, really need to have your own transportation. So don't make the mistake of not renting a car. Now, another common mistake I see tourists make is they don't even give Scottish food a chance. Look, Scotland actually has some really good food. The seafood here, the salmon, the mussels, the scallops, the other fish, the white fish we've had here. There's just so much good food here, and you're going to eat very well in Scotland. So don't be like, oh, going to Scotland, looks like I'm going to lose 10 pounds unless I drink my dinner. No, look, you can eat really well. The seafood's great. The beef here is outstanding. The lamb, oh, you got to do the lamb when you're here. And there's all kinds of other fun stuff. You can have the local whiskey that's here. You have the iron brew, the Scottish soda that I'll talk about later. You have that. There's all kinds of really good Scottish traditional cuisine you can have and enjoy when you're here. And I think enjoying that food is so important that there's another mistake that tourists make, and that is not making reservations for dinner on Friday and Saturday nights, or not making reservations for dinner during the Edinburgh Festival in Edinburgh in August, or not making reservations for dinner anytime you're in a small town during tourist season, because there's a limited number of restaurants and spots and stuff like that. And if you want to guarantee you have a place to eat, or there's a restaurant you really want to go to have your Shetland mussels or your Orkney scallops or whatever, you got to make sure you're making those reservations. Even if you're in a small town by a popular tourist place. We were staying in Plockton a few years ago, and there, like, we booked our accommodation 4 months before we actually were going to stay there. And the lady's like, hey, I'm going to make you reservations at this restaurant so you know you have a place to eat when you're here, because there's limited spots. So don't forget to make those reservations for dinner when you are coming, okay? And it's not just in big cities, it's in small towns as well. Also, probably don't forget to make hotel reservations if you're going to be going to smaller towns and going to drive around the country, so you can kind of plan out your route before you go, so you're a bit more comfortable with that drive. Now, changing topics for a little bit, I think another important mistake not to make when you're here is don't make the mistake of calling a Scotsman an Englishman. They're not going to appreciate it. A Scot is a Scot, English is English. Make sure you separate them, because they will let you know that they are not English, they're Scottish. You might be able to get away with British. That's okay, because it's part of Great Britain. But just know, Scottish, Scotland, we're Scottish, okay? So just know that one. And one of the ways you'll be able to tell they're Scottish instead of English is the accent. And that's another mistake I think tourists make, is they go, hey, I'm going to Scotland. They speak English. I'm going to understand them just fine. Look, that's a mistake right there. The farther you go north in Scotland, the stronger the accent gets. And you'll see in some movies when the people are speaking like Scottish English, in Scotland in the north, they might actually put subtitles down at the bottom to help people out. You might need a few times through. Excuse me, could you repeat that? Sorry, what did you say? So don't make the mistake of getting upset because you can't understand them. Just take some time and a smile. And no, you're not the only tourist that didn't quite understand everything they said, okay? Now, the next mistake I want to talk about has to deal with when you're driving around, and that is not taking snacks with you. Look, you need to have some snacks in your car, because a lot of times you have long drives, there's no shops along the way, no pub along the way, and you're going to get hungry. There might not be anything around. So make sure you throw some bags of stuff in. Get some of the local snacks when you're here. Get the caramel wafers or stuff like that when you're here. There's a lot of good Scottish candy and treats, the Scottish shortbread. You have these things that sit well in your car, no big deal, and you can just nibble on them. Grab some drinks as well, it's very important. So you have that. Another mistake I see people make is they don't look up the local festivals. Look, Scotland has so many crazy fun festivals you can go to all throughout the year that, you know what, take a gander. Visit Scotland, their website, I'm sure, talks about all the festivals around the country, and see if you're coming in October or January or June, what's going on. Is there stuff I could come see? Apelia, that's where they burn a Viking longboat here in Shetland and Lerwick. They do that the last Tuesday in January. You want to go see some Highland Games? When is that going on? When can I see some of those? Maybe you want to go see a football match or a rugby match, or heck, you want to go down in the Fringe Festival in August. You have that in Edinburgh. There's so many cool festivals that a lot of people, I'm coming to see the sights, but don't realize to meet the fun people here in Scotland, it's the best way is to go to the festivals and meet them there. So don't forget to check out those festivals, okay? And my last mistake I see tourists make when they come here to Scotland is when they get that Iron Brew, the Scottish soda, they see it and they think it's orange. Look, Iron Brew is the color orange, but it's the taste of bubble gum. So just be ready for that, because the first time you have it, you're like, oh, I'm going to have a nice orange soda, and you're like, oh, that's bubble gum. That's kind of weird, but it grows on you. Don't worry, you're going to like it when you're here. So make sure you try it, but just realize it may be the color orange, but it's not really the flavor orange, all right? Now we're going to start off with a holy trinity for tourists and for locals. It's haggis, neeps, and tatties. Haggis is the infamous, or just famous, depending on how you look at it, Scottish delicacy, I guess. Basically, you take the innards, chop them up, the organ meat, chopping up, all kinds of stuff, throw in some spices, put inside of intestine, and cook it up. Yeah, sounds good, doesn't it? The thing is, it actually is good. When you go get it at restaurants, sometimes it could be too dry or something like that. We actually got it from a butcher that had made it, and we made it and cooked it at home. Dude, it was awesome. My son, my 6-year-old son, ate 2 platefuls. He wanted more, but he was so full he couldn't eat anymore. So don't knock it. The thing is, most people actually like Scottish food until they learn what's in it. For example, black pudding, which is like you have it at breakfast and it looks like a flat sausage patty. It's made with blood and meat and stuff like that, and it comes and you're like, oh, it tastes good. And then you go, oh, it's made with blood? Oh, I don't know. And then, or white pudding? I have white pudding. Oh no, white pudding is made with fat instead. And people are like, oh my goodness. And it kind of scares them out of it. And the thing is, don't be scared of the food here. Just try it. But anyway, let's get back to that haggis, neeps, and tatties. You're like, what the heck is neeps and tatties? Neeps are turnips, tatties are potatoes, and those things kind of go with a lot of food here in Scotland, okay? So you will have a lot of turnips, neeps, and potatoes, tatties, and it'll come up in different ways. For example, if you're gonna have breakfast here, a full Scottish breakfast, you know, eggs and bacon and mushrooms and beans and stuff like that, you'll see the black pudding will be on there, but also the tatties have to show up too, and so you have a tatty scone or a potato scone. And when you see it, when you think of scones, you think they're like these little cake-like things. A potato scone looks kind of like a triangle pancake, basically, but it's made out of potato, okay? So there is that. It's not bad, actually, so you have those things. Probably the most, for me and the kids, what's been our favorite breakfast here is actually the porridge, or oatmeal, like we call it in the US. Scottish porridge, or Scottish oatmeal, is really good. Like, the boys, when I put them to bed at night, they're like, Dad, can we have porridge for breakfast? I'm like, what kid's like begging for porridge for breakfast? But here, the porridge really is that good, okay? And don't be surprised if it's really thick and you're like, wait, did they overcook it? No, it's totally normal that way, but it is good. Now, some other things I want to talk about is if you're going to be looking at lunchtime and dinner times and stuff like that, some of the bigger meals, probably the best thing though here in Scotland is their salmon, and you can get smoked salmon as an appetizer or a starter, or you can have salmon fillets for a full meal, and the salmon here is amazing. There's a reason why you pay so much for Scottish salmon abroad, so why not have it here even fresher than at home at a better price at home too. So that's what's really cool. So you definitely want to have salmon when you're here. There's also a lot of other good fish, and yes, you can get the old fish and chips, the British standby, and we've had some kind with haddock and cod, and it's been really, really good. Obviously the chips or the fries here are always good for something like that. And I guess that'll kind of lead us into the pub grub. Look, one of the things you want to do when you come to Scotland is you want to go to the pub. You have a pint, an ale at the pub, and the beer here is pretty good. I mean, there's Tennent's, which is like the local kind of like Budweiser, everyone has a beer. You can have that, but I recommend is if there's a local beer that's there, like just in Edinburgh, just in Aberdeen or something like that, get the local brew. You'll be a lot happier because it's a lot more, I guess, full-bodied good beer here. Also, the whiskeys, you'll have that at the bar and stuff like that because this is whiskey land, and you should have a flight to try the different whiskeys from around the country because there's so many distilleries. But when you go to the pub and you're going to go for pub grub, yes, there is the burgers and fries and the fish and chips, but the thing is, what I recommend you get at those places are sometimes, you know, they got the bangers and mash, the sausage and mashed potatoes. See the tatties come up again. When you do have that, you might see that some of the sausages are made with, you know, wild meat like venison or something like that. Again, don't be scared. It's really good. Try those game meats. They are quite nice, all right? And another thing that would kind of go into there, and this is one that you might have at a pub, but you can get it at a store or something like that, or just a takeaway place, are Scottish pies. Now, Scottish pies, it's not like apple pie, it's sweet. It's got minced meat inside or ground meat inside. You have that all encased like a pot pie. I really liked them. We actually had those for snacks a lot of times. That was quite good. If you're on the go and you want to pick up something quick, you do have a lot of, you know, like little fry up places, like the fish and chips place and stuff like that. And sometimes you'll get the opportunity to have some traditional Scottish treats, and one is a fried Mars bar. Yes, a fried Mars bar, okay? And basically what they do is they take a Mars bar and they coat it in batter and they throw it in the fryer for a little bit, fry it up, there you go. And you can eat it like, you know, like a normal Mars bar, or you can cut it with a fork and knife because it's melted the stuff inside. I liked it. The boys were okay with it. Jocelyn did not like it. I kind of felt like it tasted like a crepe with way too much Nutella in it, but I thought it was fine, so there is that. Another one you can check out is a fried pizza. Yes, a deep fried pizza. What they do is you have a piece of pizza, they fold it over, fry it, there you go. They do like a lot of fried stuff here, you know, and they do have the sausage rolls and stuff like that you see in the rest of Britain. You can get those for little snacks. Other little snacky kind of things, if you're driving around, there's a lot of sandwiches, pre-made sandwiches you can buy in supermarkets or at gas stations. Your bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich, or your tuna fish or your coronation chicken kind of sandwiches. Kind of popular, like just grab and go things. Also, they have their rolls, like a bacon roll or a bacon buddy, which is just bacon on a roll, okay? And the bacon buddy is bacon on a roll with butter It's simple, it's cheap, and you can get a lot of places. So that's something you might want to check out when you are here for something to eat. Now, it would be wrong of me not to talk about some of the sweets that you have when you are here. If you're going to a restaurant, my personal favorite dessert here is the sticky toffee pudding. Sticky toffee pudding is basically a cake with caramel on top of it. I mean, you're thinking it's pudding, it's toffee. Look, pudding doesn't mean like Jell-O pudding like in the US. It just means kind of like something, okay? And the sticky toffee pudding is great because it's like this kind of sponge cake with caramel on top of it. Comes warm. Sometimes they'll put cream or ice cream on it. Dude, it is the best dessert here. So do check that out. Another thing, if you're looking for kind of grab and go treats or easy gifts to bring back to people, you have Scottish shortbread cookies. There's these little, they look like Liam said, they look like bricks, but they have more holes. It's just a dry cookie that you'll have here. It's kind of a popular thing. They sell it everywhere. Even at the tourist places, they sell them, so there is that. There are also some Scottish candies you'll see around, and British candies you'll see around. You know, you do have the Cadburys and stuff like that, but there's some other ones. We had this like little caramel version of a kind of a Kit Kat we had, and almost like a pre-made s'more for another one. So there are some nice candies around here. One of the ones you might see is, it's called a Scottish tablet, or just a tablet. And basically what it is imagine fudge, but like a little bit harder in kind of a tablet form, and you break off a little piece and eat that. And it could be in chocolate or vanilla or different stuff, but that's kind of like a popular thing to have, or at least a traditional kind of candy to have when you are here. In terms of drinking when you are here, if you're looking to drink, like I said, the beer and the ales are good here. You will enjoy those. Whiskey is always very popular, and there's tons of distilleries all throughout the country, and you can actually take whiskey tours, which will go through and take you to different distilleries to see all the stuff out there and try them. And it is a really cool way to learn about the history of whiskey, the history of Scotland, and these kind of things. Another Scottish drink you have to have is Iron Brew. When you see it, it's like IRNBRU, and you're like, what is that? It looks like orange soda. It's not orange soda. As Liam would say, it's Inca Cola and orange had a baby. If you don't know what Inca Cola is, it's a soda from Peru. It tastes like bubblegum. So imagine bubblegum and Fanta had a baby. That's what Iron Brew tastes like, and they sell it all over the country. So you can't have it. It's an acquired taste. You either love it or you maybe don't love it so much out there. You can drink the water here, no problem. Might not taste so good, but you can drink it here. There's bottled water all over the place if you want to get it. You can get, they love their coffee and tea here, so you can have that anywhere you go. If you're looking to get like that high tea kind of things, you're probably gonna have to go to a nicer restaurant or a nicer hotel. Now, if you're looking at times to eat, usually lunchtime in Scotland is like noon to 1, and dinner time is 5 to like 8 o'clock. One thing you should know, if you're coming with kids and you want to go eat in a pub, some pubs do not allow kids at all. Some pubs only allow kids like 6 and above, but pretty much all of them at 8 o'clock, there's no kids in the pub. So you want to go have the pub grub, which a lot of times has the stuff that kids really like the bangers and mash and the burgers and the fries and the chips and stuff like that. They don't let kids in after 8 o'clock. So if you want to eat with your kids, you got to eat earlier, so 5 or 6, so you can eat and get out. Because we have had places that said, get out now. We're like, oh, sorry. We've had places say, hey, how old is he? We're like, he's 6, okay, you can stay. So that's one of the things out there. Now, when we look at service at restaurants and pubs and bars and stuff like that, the servers will be super nice, and the bartenders are super nice, but it's not always the most efficient and quickest service out there. So do realize it will take you some time to get your order in and to get your food and stuff like that. And if you're traveling with young ones and other stuff, or you're really hungry, you might want to order a beer and a starter to right away, so then it comes while you're waiting to figure out if you want to get the salmon or the haggis or the venison or any of the great fish that's here. You will have that. And another thing you should know, when you do go here, you do tip the wait staff. They come to your table and wait on you, then you tip anywhere up to 10%, somewhere around 10% is okay. If you pay with your credit card, what you'll do is you'll tell them what you want the credit card to charge. So let's say it's £50, you'll say, oh, £55, and then they do it that way. Or you can give the cash to them directly. I've seen around here, the locals don't tip as much as the tourists do, but Tipping is a little thing here, but if you go to the bar and you order drinks to the bar, you don't tip them. You don't have to tip them. Maybe if you get around, you might throw a pound down or something like that. So there's that there. Another thing you might want to know about the restaurants here is if you're in some of the smaller towns and villages, and you're going to do that when you explore around Scotland, is there's limited space. So you want to make sure you're making reservations. For example, we were in Plockton a few years ago, and it's a small town with only a couple restaurants, and when we got in, our B&B lady's like, have you made reservations for dinner yet? We're like, well, no. She's like, oh, you better call right now, because if they run out of reservations, they run out of space, you're not gonna be able to eat. We're like, oh. So if you're going to be going to small towns and small villages and staying there, do make a reservation at the restaurant. Also, some restaurants will close in the afternoon about 2:30 and open up again like at 5. So they might say, it's like, hey, we don't have our food right now, but we might have a chippy down the way, or you can order like maybe some chips or something smaller. You can get that. But sometimes the smaller villages, the full menu isn't available all day long. So that might be something you want to look out for. But in general, Scottish food is not that bad. We ate so well. I mean, give haggis a try. Don't be scared. It's okay. If you don't like it, hey, at least you tried it and you don't have to try it again. Anyway, these are just some things I thought you should know about Scotland and Scottish food, because really you'll be shocked that you'll actually eat pretty well when you are here, and the people really are fantastic, and they'll tell you where you should go, what you should do. And if you saw a guy behind me in the video with a dog, I was filming, he came up to me, so you need to go here to eat this, you need to go here for that, and it was really cool, and the guy was really nice, and you'll have that when you're here, which makes eating and drinking a lot more fun here in Scotland. Mark, where should we go in Scotland? What's the best route to take? And it usually comes down to about a 2-week trip. So what I put together is kind of like my recommended 2-week trip here in Scotland. And the thing is, there's a lot more really great places you can visit aside on this list. So don't get upset if your town or your part of Scotland doesn't show up. I'm just putting something together to give travelers an idea of some of the fantastic places you can visit here in Scotland. And the thing is, when you're in Scotland, when you're driving around, there's so much natural beauty that you're going to want to stop and hike around. There'll be castles on the side of the road or a little sign saying, check out this castle here. You're going to want to do that too. So just know, whenever you're driving around and you do want to drive to see it all, you can take the buses and you can take the trains, but I recommend having a car. You're going to turn off a lot and see some ruins here, see a castle there, go on a hike on this side of the mountain. I mean, there's so many good things to do just when you're driving around. So make sure you're not just trying to drive point to point. Get off the road, take a look, take some pictures, and enjoy the beauty of this country. Now, first place I'm going to say you should start off into is actually fly here into Edinburgh, so you can get a good background of the history of Scotland, because this city is history in itself. It's a very compact, historic part of town, so it's easy to walk around. Well, no, I don't think easy to walk around is quite there, because there's a huge hill you have to get up, okay? So there's some hills you have to do, but it's really compact in terms of how far it is to get to certain spots. So if you want to go to the Edinburgh Castle and see that, you want to go to Holyrood House, you can see that, walking the Royal Mile up and down, the Museum of Childhood. There's all kinds of great museums here. The National Gallery, the National Museum of Scotland. There's all kinds of stuff that really teach you a lot about Scotland when you're here. Walking on Princess Street and doing some shopping when you're here in Grassmarket and having some beers with your buddies. There's all kinds of great stuff to do. Hiking by here, you can go to Calton Hill, you can walk up or hike up Arthur's Seat. You have all kinds of really great stuff. So that's why I recommend you actually start here. And I'd say spend 2 or 3 days like exploring Edinburgh would be a good idea. Next place to go is we're going to head out, we're going to go to Stirling. And in Stirling, you have Stirling Castle, which you're going to go see. When you're there, you can see the William Wallace Memorial, like out in the distance, which is kind of a cool thing. Also in town, there's the Church of the Holy Rood. There's also a really nice art gallery, the Stirling Smith Art Gallery that's there as well. So you have something to do there. I would say like a full day in Stirling will get you can get most of the stuff seen, but you do it overnight, totally fine. It's a nice thing, but it's relatively close to Edinburgh, so that's nice. Going on from there, what I'd recommend is stop in Fort William. So in Fort William gives you a nice little base if you want to go out and do some hikes, explore waterfalls, see some of the castles along the way, visit some of the locks and stuff like that. And the thing is, Fort William represents a lot of the small towns you could stay in when you're driving around, because it gives you good access to a lot of other really great places to see. Now, once you leave Fort William, we're on our way to the Isle of Skye. On the way to the Isle of Skye, you want to stop at the Eilean Donan Castle, probably the prettiest, second most famous castle over Edinburgh Castle here in Scotland, and you've probably seen it in some movies and stuff like that. You can stop there, get your pictures, see it and stuff like that, and then you get back on the road and you head to the Isle of Skye. And the Isle of Skye is gorgeous. This is that natural, savage, wild natural beauty of Scotland, you really see it in Skye. The thing is getting a place to stay on Skye, like in Portray and stuff like that, can be a little tough. So you might need to stay off the island. Like we always stay in Plockton when we go there. This super cute little town, nice little, the inn is really nice there. The thing is there's a little island out there that it's not always an island. So if you're out there when the tide is out, you'll be on this little island. But the thing is the tide comes in, you're gonna be stuck on that island. So make sure you get off in time. But the thing is when you're going into Skye, you're gonna go around and you'll see like Kilt Rock where you'll see the cliff and you'll see the different colorations, striations of the cliff, and it really does look like a kilt, which is really cool. The Old Manor Store, these rock formations, it's just a really cool thing to do. Now, from Skye, what you're going to do is you're going to be heading towards Inverness, and on your way from Inverness, you got to stop at Loch Ness. You go to the visitor center and learn the history of Nessie, or the false history of Nessie, but I still think she's real. And then you can go and see, you know, try to check out for Nessie and see if you can see her. Now, one of the castles I recommend you stopping at when you're leaving Loch Ness is Urquhart. I know, I can't say it right, but I know my kids really loved it when we were there, and we had a really nice time when we were there. So that would be one I'd say stop off, spend a half a day enjoying that castle on your way to Inverness. Now, when you're in Inverness, that is the capital, basically de facto capital of the Northern Highlands. And that can be your gateway into the Northern Highlands to explore up there for a few days and see the beauty up there. Or what you can do is if you stay in Inverness, you might want to go to the Black Isle and you can go see where the dolphins are. We saw them there a few years ago and it was really, really kind of a cool thing. So you have that. Now, from Inverness, you have choices. You can either go into the Highlands for a few days or you head down to Aberdeen. And on the way to Aberdeen, there's a few castles you can check out and some ruins you can check out on your way, which are all very nice. Take an hour or two in each one. Get down to Aberdeen, the Granite City. I mean, you'll see a lot of granite stone buildings here in Scotland, but Aberdeen seems to be the most granity of them all. And so you can eat there, you can have some stuff there. They have a lot of oil money that came in, so there's a leisure center and stuff like that. But what you do from Aberdeen is that's gonna be your flight to maybe going to the Shetland Islands for next thing. And when you go to Shetland Islands, Lerwick is the capital. But when you go there, you're gonna go and see all the old stone, Iron Age, Bronze Age, pick, cultures kind of stuff at like Jarlshof that's there, or Old Scatness. You can see the foundations, you can see actually still some of the walls. And the thing is, you take ferries all around Shetland. You can take a little ferry over to Musa, so you can go to the Broch of Musa, which is a big, 40-foot tall, you know, stone structure, which is really kind of a cool thing. Go around there. You can go to or you could go to Orkney if you wanted to, another set of islands that's really nice. And Kirkwall is the capital there. You can go and check out that. A lot of nature stuff when you're there. And then from there, what I recommend you do is fly back to Glasgow and finish off your trip in Glasgow, because you can get flights out of Glasgow, no problem. And when you're there, you have a lot of stuff you can really enjoy. Like Glasgow is much more of an industrial shopping kind of city, but they've had a lot of really great cultural revolution. Like there's been a really good cultural revolution there last 10, 15 years with a lot of really great museums popping up and getting renovated and stuff like that. You know, you can go to the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, which has like the famous artists, but also new modern installations are really cool. I know my mom just loved that one. You got the Botanical Gardens you can go to there. There's a bunch of parks around town. It's just really cool city. The murals you'll see around, it's pretty interesting as well. And so you have a really good like vibe in the city. So you can get to both Edinburgh and Glasgow. There's some really good city feels as well. But the thing is, when you come to Scotland, it's more the natural beauty stuff you're really going to enjoy. And of course, the food's not too bad either, but we have videos on Scottish food, like the salmon and the mussels and the scallops and the beef and the lamb and yes, the haggis and fried Mars bars. We've got all kinds of fun stuff like that. Anyway, I hope this helps you know a rough idea of some of the places you could visit on a 2-week trip here in Scotland. We really recommend coming here. We have family here. We actually were in the Shetland Islands, finding our old family homes and stuff like that. It was a really great experience. The people are wonderful. They'll help you out. Yes, driving on the left side of the road can be a bit touchy at first, but you'll figure it out. The first thing that shocks people when they come here is how everywhere you go looks like a freaking postcard. Scotland is gorgeous, whether you're going through the glens or you're going by the lochs, or you're going to beautiful cities, going to Edinburgh and seeing the castle there and walking through this city. Everywhere you go, from Stirling to the Highlands to the Isle of Skye, everywhere you go is gorgeous. They have cool cities, all kinds of nice people, all kinds of fantastic stuff. And wherever you go, look, it's a postcard. This is a random caravan park, okay? And that's my view. And that's not even the good view. The other view is that way, but the sun's pointing the wrong direction. And the thing is, when you come here, you will literally be oohing and eyeing and going, oh my goodness, is that like Harry Potter? Yes, it is. That bridge you see in Harry Potter, that's here. This is what it's like when you come to Scotland. It is just unbelievably gorgeous. And that's why, going off of that, the second thing that shocks people when they come here is the insane natural beauty of Scotland. Look, when you're you're going around, you might be going into the hills, you know, the kind of like mini mountains that are here, and you can go hiking in them. It's great just to walk through. I remember that when I came here with Caleb the first time, all he wanted to do was like, Dad, stop the car. Let's go hiking. I'm like, all right. And we climb up into the mountains and see the heather and see the thistle and everything there. And it was really just amazing. And when you come here, there's tons and tons of pathways you can walk on. Just go into the hills and the mountains to go to on the locks and take, you know, go on a boat ride on the locks, go sailing on the locks, go see the dolphins out on the Black Isle going by. It is truly natural beauty here. For us, the Isle of Skye is the top though. When you have the waterfall going off the side of the island, it is just great. But the highlands, and you go to the islands and everything, it is just amazingly beautiful nature when you are here. And when you come, you really feel like you get back to nature because there's so much space here as well, which goes along with that when you drive, you can go for miles, not kilometers here. You drive for miles in Scotland, and you drive, and I'll talk about the driving later, but you go through and it's just, wow, that's beautiful. Wow, that's beautiful. And you just kind of take it all in. And the third shock I have for you, because it all kind of ties into this postcard theme for the first three, is how many insanely cool castles there are throughout Scotland. Now, we all know Edinburgh Castle, because you're going to go there with the Edinburgh Festival and all those kind of things. When you go, so probably go to Stirling Castle as well. Eiling Castle, probably the coolest castle you've ever seen. I mean, that is an amazing castle to check out there. There's castles on the locks. There's castles all over the place. And what's cool is Scotland is very proud of their history, and they've kept up these castles and the manor homes around the country. And you go around and you'll be driving by and like, oh, there's another castle we can see. Turn off and go to it. It's worth it because they're kept very well. They have good guides. They have really good information. There's usually a cafe, nice bathrooms, all together there, and it is just cool because all those things really tie it together into making this such a wonderful country for the traditional kind of tourists, from the beautiful landscapes to the castles to the cities. And there's a reason why Jocelyn, every time she comes here, she says, Mark, we should move here. I mean, we were driving around today and she's like texting, oh, don't worry, she wasn't driving. She was going through and looking, hey, what universities have jobs here? I mean, that's what's so cool about it. And that's the thing, is we were driving around, and that's the fourth thing that shocks tourists when they come here, is driving in Scotland. And no, it's not just the fact that you drive on the left side of the road, which is kind of hard. And you'll notice that they'll remind the tourists quite often at every single major tourist site you're going to drive to that we drive on the left. So make sure you do that. But no, it is kind of freaky that first time when you're driving, you think, wait, I got to be on this side of the road. No, you're on the left side. And that gets people. But that's not actually the scariest part or the shockingest part. There's a lot of small roads, and with this beautiful countryside with the hills and the lochs and the glens, you have a lot of windy roads as well. So it's like you're driving in a car commercial all the time, which is gorgeous, but it can be shockingly nerve-wracking on your first try. I know the first time I drove here, I was a little testy. This time, I'm much better. Jocelyn, she's doing most of the driving this time too, and she's like, oh my God. I'm like, it'll be fine, but just know it can get you. So be ready for those windy, narrow roads, okay? And driving on the left, that can get people. But you also might be shocked, is if you want to see a lot of the natural beauty and get to some of these castles, you really do have to drive when you are here in Scotland. There is a good bus network and there's trains and stuff, but to really take Scotland in, you really got to drive on your own, because then you can go and see cool places all over. And what's cool when you're driving is actually the locals are pretty supportive, I would say, with all these tourists that don't know what side of the road to go on. They are helpful with directions, and they don't like ride up on your butt. I mean, they'll let you go and then they'll pass you when they need to, but they're not like aggressive drivers here, even on the motorway, which is really cool. And that kind of leads into the next thing I find shocking about Scotland is, no matter how touristy the place is, the people have been fantastic. The Scottish people are just awesome. They're super friendly. They're super helpful. They got some good jokes as well. And so that's what's really cool about it, because you think a place that gets so many tourists, and especially tourists that don't know how to drive, they get really frustrated with those tourists. The locals do. I mean, go to Florida and talk to the locals. They're like, oh, those snowbirds and those people in Orlando, they get frustrated with them. Here, if they do, they don't show it to the tourists, okay? They are super wonderful and super nice, and whether you're going to a little town like Plockton to stay or a bigger city like Inverness or something like that, people will be helpful. They take you in. You're a B&B that you're going to stay in, ask them for some advice, but they'll probably give you the advice anyway where you should go, don't worry. And don't be surprised if you go, I want to go to this castle today. They go, oh, no. You should go to this loch and then this castle and then go here to see the dolphins. That's how it goes. So that's one thing that really does shock you, just how nice the Scots are. Now, going off of those nice people, the sixth thing that's going to shock you when you come here is they speak English here, but you might not understand everything they say. Look, in Scotland, the farther you go north, the more of an accent people have, a stronger accent. And so for tourists, especially if you're coming from the US or places where English isn't the native language and you're used to that British English, the Queen's English kind of thing, the Hollywood English, it gets a little bit farther away from that here. So sometimes it can be a bit tough to understand people. That's in the more northern parts. In most tourism stuff, you're not going to have any problems, but that might be an issue some places you do go. That is one thing that kind of you really should be ready for, is sometimes you'll be like, what'd you say? And so that is kind of a funny little thing, and you can have some fun with it. And the locals have fun with it too, because they'll totally like speak with a strong accent, or they'll speak a local language, and you'll be like, what? And like, oh, you don't know, and they'll throw it back at you. But they're so cool about it. It's no big deal. But that just might be shocking that though you say you speak English, you might not understand theirs. Now, the seventh thing that might shock you when you come here is the food. Look, Scottish cuisine isn't necessarily up there in terms of the wow factor of food. And the thing that shocks people most is when they hear about some of the more famous Scottish foods that you probably won't eat or have very often when you are here, but everyone likes to talk about it. For example, haggis. Haggis is basically organ meat chopped up with some spices and some other stuff, stuffed into an intestine, and then served to you. Well, it's cooked, of course, and then served to you. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? Oh, but wait, there's more. Maybe you like some black pudding? Hey, or black sausage? Which is basically blood mixed with some meat and rice and stuffed in another, casing to make a sausage kind of thing. They have that. But if you don't like the blood side of it, you can have the white version of it, which is made out of fat. Look, these kind of things you might have, like the black pudding and black sausage kind of stuff you might have for breakfast in the morning, but you're most likely not going to have that when you're here. And that's why kind of actually the shocking thing about food in Scotland is there actually is some really good food here. When you're going to the pubs, you go to the restaurants, they have some really good grub. And yes, you can have the fish and chips, the kind of traditional UK kind of stuff, but you have the potatoes and the turnips, and these kind of things that you will like. But there's a lot of really good food here. The pies I've really enjoyed. The boys been eating like crazy when you're here. Amazing fish, dude. There's a reason why you pay so much money for Scottish salmon when you're at your store back home, because it's phenomenal. And here you can go by the store for next to nothing and have a fantastic meal you cook on your own with Scottish salmon, which is awesome. The porridge here, the oatmeal. Look, my kids were joking with me when I went and bought oatmeal for them or porridge for them. They're like, Dad, we don't like this at home. I'm like, just wait. Both of them this morning said, that was awesome. Can we have it tomorrow for breakfast? Okay, so there is some stuff that you will really enjoy when you are here. And for me, one of my favorite parts of actually the food here in Scotland is when you go to the pub and you go to places and you go eat out, because it can give you more of an experience when you are here. And yes, you can try your haggis, but try some of the other stuff too, because you actually enjoy those. Now, the eighth thing that might shock you when you come here is the weather. Look. It's not raining. Look, it's kind of a joke that here in Scotland in the summer times, you can enjoy all 4 seasons in one day. Yes, I'm here and it's a beautiful day today. We had sun out, I had to get the sunblock out, the hat on and stuff like that. You can have beautiful days here in Scotland, and it doesn't rain all the time. However, it does rain quite often. And the locals we talked to today, they said, we have weather like this all the time in 10-minute increments every other day. Look, when you do come here, you need to bring layers, okay? You need to bring a jacket, okay? An umbrella, these kind of things, because it does rain a bit, okay? So do be ready for that, and don't let it ruin your vacation or your visit here, because that's a normal thing. And you can go and visit the castles, and you can go visit these things inside and outside with a little bit of rain. You're not going to be too bad off, okay? Now, there can be, worse storms, but just like anywhere, so just be ready for that one. But just know the weather here, it might shock you that, wait, you can have sunny, beautiful days in Scotland? Yes, you can, okay? But just know the rain does come quite often. I guess we're just lucky today. Also, I think it shocks some people, especially if you have little kids when you come here, is if you're coming in the summertime, sun up is like 4 in the morning, sundown is like 10 or something at night, and so the kids don't really want to go to bed, and so that light goes all day long. So what's cool about that is you can go and visit sites during the earlier hours of the day and the later hours of the night. Now, you can't go in. Most of the tourism places close by 6 and things like that, but you can still, hit the bars and hit the restaurants and stuff like that, or go driving along the coast, take in the dolphins going out to sea and things like that. You can do that. So don't be too worried about the weather or the sun all the time, or the clouds that are hiding the sun. You do have that. Now, our last two shocks, we'll go show you a little bit more of Scotland, and maybe that weather might change a bit, because honestly, I came out here to start filming this, and I was fine with my little t-shirt, my little Nessie t-shirt, and now I'm like, dude, I need my Wolters World quarter zip, because it's like dropped like 10 degrees while I've been filming. Anyway, I hope you have a great time here in Scotland. It is gorgeous, it is beautiful, and I hope you do enjoy it. But we'll go to another spot to finish off our last two. Now, here we are driving to Aberdeen from Inverness, and you have these beautiful views all over Scotland. And to finish off our 10 shocks, actually I want to go to something about the nature that you might not like, are the midges, the little tiny bugs that can leave little red bites all over you. And the crazy thing about it is, it's kind of like if you take a map and you draw down the middle of Scotland. On the west side, the midges eat you alive. On the east side, not too much of a problem, but it is shock as how many bites you will get, and it is quite crazy, especially if you're going to the Isle of Skye and stuff like that. And then our 10th thing that shocks people when they come here is the lack of being able to shop after 6 o'clock. Look, a lot of towns and a lot of shops throughout the country of Scotland do close by 6 or at 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday and things like that. So there are limited hours to go shopping here. Now, some days and some places are open later, so you're okay. But just know that if you want to get your shopping done or buy your kilt or whatever you want to do, you need to do it before 6, okay? Also, with that timing thing, don't try to take your kids to eat at the pub for a late dinner, because they won't let them in the evening, okay? So just a heads up on that one. And I'll be honest, I love this city. It is a beautiful place with the architecture and the stone and the just museums. I mean, it's really, really cool. But there's things you might not like, and that's why I like to start off with those hates. But I think this time it's more of a set of mild annoyances, okay? Now, the first thing you're not gonna like when you come to Edinburgh is most likely you're gonna be renting a car and gonna go travel the rest of Scotland, and you might wanna drive into Edinburgh. Look, the first hate I have is finding parking and driving around Edinburgh. Look, as you might know or you might not know, they drive on the left side of the road here in Scotland, and so that can be a little difficult with the roundabouts and stuff like that. But here in Edinburgh, what's really going to get you is finding the parking if you are going to be coming here. So what I recommend, if you're flying in and Edinburgh is either the beginning or the end of your trip to Scotland, I would fly in, come and visit Edinburgh, then head back out to the airport and get your car after you've been in Edinburgh for a few days. Or what we did is we flew into Edinburgh, got our car, drove around for a week or so, and then dropped off the car back at the airport, and then we took the tram into the city and just spent a few days here in Edinburgh. It really makes your life a lot easier, because driving and parking here is a pain in the behind, so just a heads up for that one, okay? Now, the second thing that you might not like when you come here, and again, like I said, these are more like mild annoyances or mild things you might not know, is more of getting oriented here. Look, there's 7 hills here in Edinburgh, and so you have to do a lot of walking uphill and things like that, which some tourists aren't a big fan of, especially the little tiny ones. Liam said, "My legs are going to die." So yes, bring good shoes. But the thing is, when you look at the map, it'll look like things are easy to get to, like they're right next to each other, but sometimes there'll be a bridge going across, and what you want to see is in the lower city versus the upper city, and that can get a little confusing for some tourists. So whenever you see something and it says, oh, it's just 500 meters away, it might take you a little bit more time than your usual 500 meters. So getting oriented to it. But once you get it, you're totally fine, but just know those hills and getting oriented to the map, that can be a little bit of a throw off for some tourists when they come here. Now, the third thing you might not like about coming to Edinburgh is, look, this place has become very, very popular for weekend travelers, and you're probably gonna be coming here on a weekend or during a weekend and stuff like that, and it can get packed with tourists. But it seems like the packed with tourists part is really only in the Royal Mile from basically St. Giles Cathedral to the Edinburgh Castle, and you're like, oh, fighting through people, and there's cool buskers, by the way. There's buskers, there's all this stuff going on, people playing bagpipes, and you're just like, I just want to get to the castle. And it can get frustrating with all those tourists. So what I recommend is if you can come off season, okay, you'll be fine. Or just come during the week in the summer, you're usually okay. I will warn you though, during the Edinburgh Festival in August, it's really packed. Like you're like this everywhere you go in town, not just on the Royal Mile, but everything down near the castle where a lot of the festival big concerts happen. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on around the city. She'll be okay, but just know those weekend smushies. Yes, I know a lot of the airlines are coming here and all kinds of stuff to get here and to get the cheap airlines here. But yeah, you're gonna have to deal with a bunch of tourists on the weekends because it really is a great city. And yes, that is me saying I hate myself, but that's just the way it is. Now, the next thing you're not gonna like when you come here is the airport. Look, when we flew in, I thought, oh, they must be under construction. That's why they put us at this gate and this entryway. Oh, no. The Edinburgh airport needs some work, and you're going to need some time to get through it because it's too small for what a city like this with getting so many travelers coming through. So it can be kind of a headache. Now they are working on it. Like the tram line to go in and out is great. Take that in and out. Buy your return ticket when you come in. It's a lot cheaper that way. But the airport itself is just a pain in the butt. And if you got a morning flight, man, don't think you're just going to show up at 6 to get that 7 o'clock flight, because it gets so packed, and getting through security and those things can take a lot of time on weekday mornings, especially Monday mornings. So do give yourself some extra time if you're going to be going for a morning flight. Also, when you get through the check and you check in and security and all through these things, you're thinking, oh, finally, I'll get to the gates. There'll be plenty of room to relax. I can find a seat, stuff like that. No, it's a rather small departure area, so just a heads up for that one. And the fifth thing you might not like about coming to Edinburgh has to deal with bringing your kids. Look, Scotland itself and Edinburgh itself are fantastic for bringing your kids, from outdoor activities to museums to just looking around like, oh my gosh, it's like we're in Harry Potter world everywhere we go. Yes, the kids will love Edinburgh and they'll love Scotland. But the thing is in Scotland and Edinburgh itself, you do have the rules that no kids in the bar after 8 o'clock. Some bars will say no kids at all, or no kids under 5. And the thing is kids usually like the pub grub, the fish and chips, and I know you're supposed to go to a chippy shop for that, but the bangers and mash and all these things you want to have when you're here. And yes, you should have the haggis, okay? You should try it when you're here. But the thing is, the kids can't go in. So that means you can't go in. And that can be tough because you're like, you know what? I don't want to eat McDonald's or Pizza Hut or something like that when I'm in Scotland. I want to go to a Scottish pub and have pub dinner and stuff like that. So if you do have kids and you want them to have that pub experience, go for lunch, not dinner, unless you're going to eat like at 5 or 6 o'clock. Otherwise, your kids won't be able to get in, and then you won't be able to get in. So that's kind of frustrating. Now, these 5 hates aren't really that bad. They're all things you can deal with. And I didn't mention, yes, the weather here is kind of so-so-y, but I talk about that in the love and hates of Scotland in general. So that's one of those things. But the thing is, what are you going to love when you're here? And for me, and the one thing that the tourists always go to, we all flock to the one place, we flock to the Royal Mile. The Royal Mile is the road that goes from the Edinburgh Castle to the Palace of Holyrood House at the bottom where the Queen stays when she's there. And this way, it's got St. Giles Cathedral, which is just gorgeous to go inside. You have beautiful stained glass in there. You need to pay £2 to take pictures, by the way. It's got when you're walking down outside of St. Giles, it's got the little heart you spit on for good luck or come back to Edinburgh. You've got Edinburgh Castle at the very top with amazing views of everywhere around town. You can see the Scottish crown jewels and stuff like that there. A lot of history in the museum. You walk down, taking in the architecture. The church is just looking around going, wow. I mean, it's just really, really beautiful and nice. And there's nice museums on there, and so you want to check those out. But you're walking down there and you see that, and you come down and there's Arthur's Seat on the right of Holyrood House, and then you got Calden Hill on the other side with the monuments on there, and it's just gorgeous. And that's your really touristy place for a reason, because it's gorgeous. And the thing is, that leads us into the second thing you're going to love here is if you're going to go up Arthur's Seat or Calden Hill or just anywhere, the views around the city are amazing. If you go down to the Grass Market and you get a view, you get some nice pictures up to the castle that way. Or you walk up to Calden Hill, you can see everything from the castle up there. It's just amazing views and scenery everywhere in the city. And you go around and you see the architecture. I'm just on some back road outside the center of town, okay, outside the new town. And it's gorgeous. I mean, and that's one of the things you love is the views of Edinburgh everywhere you go. Just like in Scotland, everywhere you go just seems like a postcard beautifulness. And so I really say look, don't just stick to the Royal Mile. Yes, that's my favorite part of it, and you're going to love it, but go explore. See that Scott Monument? Go out there, check out the Princess Gardens, but keep going, check out the New Town and all kinds of places. You'll find amazing statues and cool statues all over. We found a Sherlock Holmes statue yesterday. I mean, it's just like one of these cool things, and that's why you really have to explore. don't just stay on that Royal Mile. Get out and explore and see some of those great views around the city. Now, the third thing that I love about coming to Edinburgh are the shops. There's the vintage shops, there's the kooky shops, there's the over-the-top touristy Scotland shops. And the thing is when you come here, you know, if you're coming for like your traditional H&M and Zara shopping and things like that, that's in the new town, not the old town. The old town's where the Royal Mile is. You're going to go across the Prince's Gardens and go across there, and you'll see the Scott Monument and stuff. Over there is where you're going to have your traditional high street shops. But if you want to go shopping in Scotland, you go to Glasgow for the shopping. But Edinburgh, what's cool about Edinburgh is there's very, I would say, eccentric, eclectic shops, and you're going to go to those to find kooky little souvenirs, or if you want to find vintage clothing, things like that, go down by Grassmarket. Around there, there's some really cool vintage places. Jocelyn loved it. I mean, you know, it's got to be pretty cool if the husband is like, yes, I want you to go shopping for vintage clothes because it's so cool. And that's one of the things you're gonna really love, are these cool, quaint shops that are here. And don't worry if you're not gonna buy something, just go in and check it out. And they'll have all kinds of little things. I know Harry Potter is still very popular here, and you'll see when you walk around, you'll see the influence that Edinburgh really had on the Harry Potter series. And you'll see there's, of course, cheese ball shops that are for that, but they're fun to go on as well, okay? So that's one thing I love, is going shopping in the eccentric shops here, not just the traditional, you know, H&M, John Lewis, M&S kind of stuff. Now, the fourth thing you're gonna love about coming to Edinburgh is basically going around town, taking in the museums and the sites that are here, but things that aren't on that Royal Mile. Though I'm gonna mention two places that are. One, the Museum of Childhood is really cool. It kind of gives a history of what it was like to be a child in different epochs. Also, the Museum of Storytelling, or the Storytelling Museum, that's really cool because Scotland has a really rich history of storytellers, and it is pretty cool, so you can check that out. And those are on the Royal Mile. But when you venture out farther, take the public transport out to Rosslyn Chapel. You can see the Apprentice Column and all these kind of stuff, and you'll hear the history about it. And yes, I know 20 years ago, Da Vinci Code was really cool, but you'll see those things there. But you go around, and there's so many things to do. You want to go hiking outside of town, you can do that. Walking up Arthur's Seat is always really cool. The views, like I talk about. But also when you are here, you get out and you explore the different areas of the city, and you're going to see great architecture, great people, great stuff all over. And that's one reason we really love Edinburgh, because it's not just that old town historic part, it's the rest of the city as well that has some cool churches, some museums. The botanical gardens, they're right back over here, okay? And you can see these things, and it's really cool, but you gotta venture out. And the thing is if you're using Edinburgh as a base, you can venture out on the train to Glasgow to see the art and do shopping there. It's only 45 minutes. I mean, you can go there in the morning, come back in the afternoon, you're fine, okay? Though I will tell you another hate I guess I should mention is the shops close around 6 sometimes, but the tourist places, they stay open longer, so just a heads up on that one. Make sure you're looking at when things are closing and opening, so you make sure you can shop when you want. And I think the last thing I'm gonna say about the things you're gonna love about Edinburgh is Edinburgh has amazing tourist infrastructure. There are tons of hotels, bed and breakfasts, apartment rentals. Those things really make it easier for tourists in different price categories. Hostels, I mean, if you're a hostel backpacker, you can do it here. If you're a wealthy family that wants to have nice tea and crumpets, well, they've got the Balmoral. Okay, you have all these places you can go and stay in all price ranges. Also, we have a family with us. We're staying, we're here as a family. We've rented an apartment. All kinds of stuff you can get. Obviously, during the festivals, the prices go up. But the thing is, the infrastructure is there for the accommodation. Restaurants and pubs and all those things. Plenty of stuff to go out and eat, which is nice. But also the tour infrastructure in terms of how well things are displayed, how helpful the people are at sites around town. They are quite nice. And if you have any questions, whether you're at a castle or a museum, just ask the docent that's there, and they will give you the history times 10 about what you're seeing. And that's what's really great about it. You see that pride that the Scots have in their country and the Edinburgh people have in Edinburgh, and it really comes out in that helpfulness for the tourists. And I really love that. And I mean, we can go on about the tourism infrastructure. The buses here, they go all over the place. You can take them no problem. The tram line that comes from the airport down to the center takes about 40 minutes from the airport to the last stop at York Place. It's great and it's easy. And that's why when people are looking to come to Europe, I'm like, hey, if you want something, a simple place that you feel comfortable and English is your native language, Edinburgh is your spot, because it is just a great place to check out. I love it. I know this is the love and hates, but you'll notice those hates were like mild annoyances that you can deal with. But honestly, it's a beautiful city with wonderful people. And yes, you will find some quirky things like fried Mars bars and fried pizza and black pudding, but we talk about the food in other videos. So anyway, all those murders and crazy stuff you see on the Shetland TV series, yeah, that doesn't happen here. This is like a super safe place. Like, most people don't even lock their cars kind of safe. So just have a heads up. So if you're looking for crazy murder stuff, that doesn't happen here, all right? Now, in terms of actual stuff that shocks tourists when they come here, the first thing that really gets you is this is a treeless natural wonder. I mean, you go around, you'll see no trees, like none, okay? Well, okay, maybe in a couple people's gardens, and in Vaud, there's a few trees there, but in general, there are no trees in the Shetland Islands because of the wind and the soil and stuff like that, so you don't see it. But the thing is, you don't care because the natural beauty here is insane. If you see the cliffs on the west coast, you're just like in awe walking by there. Be careful, you might fall off the edge, okay? So have a heads up. But you're going around, whether you're seeing the hills and valleys throughout the islands, it's just a gorgeous thing. And the thing is, the geology here is so different in different places. You will see different types of rock, different types of formations, you know, the formations coming out of the water in certain places. It is just gorgeous, and you're just shocked how gorgeous, but how barren it is all at the same time, but it is awesome. Now, the second thing that shocks tourists when they come here is all the stone buildings. Because think about it, there's no trees, so you can't build your houses if there's no trees. So what they build it out of? The rocks here on the Shetland Islands. And so you have lots of stone buildings, okay? And the thing is, there's a lot of gorgeous stone buildings here, granite and stuff like that. But what will really get you is when you see the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the pick buildings and stuff like that, the foundations they found. For example, Jarlshof is probably the most popular place that you're gonna go, that you'll see the Broch, well, what's left of the Broch and all the remaining ruins that are there. They've dug up and excavated. It's really, really cool. You can go to Old Scatness, which is literally right next to the airport. Yeah, they have that. But all around you can see the Brochs, or what's left of the Brochs around town. And Brochs are the big, huge kind of tower thing. So if you go to the Broch of Mora, you can see one there that's still standing. It is just super impressive. But all the stonework throughout the country, and it's not just like ancient stonework. You see more like contemporary, you know, in the last couple 100, 300 years kind of stuff with the croft houses. When you go there, they have oat straw roofs on them, and go in there. There's actually a museum that you can see how it is. And until the oil came here, or they discovered oil and started extracting it and money started flowing here in the 70s, a lot of people still lived in those croft houses. So it's kind of an interesting thing if you learn about the history of the Shetland Islands, about the crofts and their farms and stuff like that. So it is really cool. Now, remember that old Scatness I talked about? Well, right by there, it's by the airport. And the airport is the third thing that's going to shock you when you come here, is because you can drive across the runway. Yes, there's actually a traffic light that stops traffic when planes are taking off and planes are landing, which is kind of weird when you're looking at this site and the plane's coming in. You're like, wait, is he going to hit me? No, he's not going to hit you, or she's not going to hit you. It's going to come in, and it's right there. And you'll see like ding, 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 and the guy walks out and closes the gate, and the planes land, and then they open it up, and then you drive right through. You can't stop though, so maybe drive slowly and get a couple pictures. Maybe I'm showing that to you now, I don't know. But you do have that. It is kind of shocking when you're like, there's a road that goes over the runway, so that is kind of funny. Now, so we talk about the airport. It is pretty easy to get here. There's lots of flights that come here with Logan Air and stuff like that. But I think the next thing that's going to shock you about being here is what I like to call ferry life. So you can actually take ferries from Aberdeen. It's about a 12-hour ferry to get here, and you got to book your cabins in advance to make sure you get a cabin. Otherwise, you're sleeping like a plane seat kind of thing. So do that. But actually, it's the ferries you go around to go to the different islands. I mean, there's over 100. There's like 100 islands here. And you're going to be going to different ones. Like we went and saw where our family used to live when we were here. It was really cool, but we had to hop on that ferry. And the thing is, make sure you get your ferry, like pre-book the tickets so you're guaranteed your spot on that ferry, because you just roll up, you might be too late, or I should say you might not be, there might not be enough room on the ferry for you, so you might have to wait to the next one. And it's not like they go all the time, so do have a heads up for that. But just know you will be ferrying around to see these islands and going to visit all these places. And the thing is, some of the islands you can fly to on a small airplane kind of stuff, but most likely you're going to be doing a ferry when you are here. And I will warn you, if you're taking the ferry here from Aberdeen or anytime in the winter time, it can be a little rough sea, so maybe have some Dramamine or the bands to help you with seasickness, because that will shockingly really get you if you're coming here in the winter time. Now, the next thing that's going to shock when you come here is what I like to call the empty islands. Now remember, there's 100 islands here. but only 15 of them are inhabited. But it's not like 15 of them are inhabited with a lot of people. Some of the islands only have maybe 30 people or 60 people or 70 people on them. So it's more like a settlement on that island, which is really cool, and you get to meet the people and stuff. But I'll talk about the awesomeness of the people later. But it is really kind of an emptiness that you'll find. So this place is like shocking, like I can really be alone when I'm here, you know? And that means with the limited number of inhabitants on these islands, usually the sights you want to see is it's here, and you got to drive down the road to see it, and then you drive back. So just get used to seeing like going down and coming back, going down and coming back, which is fine because you can be driving, look out this side of the window on the way down, and then look out the other side on the way back, and then you can see everything and not worry about it. Also, in terms of the empty islandness, I think it's important to mention the empty streetness after 5 o'clock. If you're in like Lerwick here or in some of the other settlements that have some shops, everything, it's 9 to 5 are the stores. So after 5 o'clock, there is nothing. I mean, there is nothing going on, okay? So you need to make sure you're making reservations for restaurants and places to eat. You might want to eat at your hotel. They have those things there. So do have a heads up. If there's no pub nearby, maybe check out the local hall. There might be a place to go there to grab a drink, but it is something you need to think about when you are here because, I mean, Lerwick is the capital and the metro area is maybe 10,000 people, okay? So have a heads up for that. Now, the next thing that shocks people when they come to the Shetland Islands is the weather, but I think a better way to put this is the ability to the fog here to work like a horror movie, because it like really sneaks up on you like out of nowhere, and then boom, fog is everywhere. You're like, how did that happen? Where did this thing come from? Now, we've been lucky since we've been here. We've only had a little bit of fog, but you need to know, man, you'll be shocked how foggy it can get and how bad the weather can get. Now, it doesn't get super cold here, but it does get super windy in the winter, like normal 100-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, it does happen, so be ready for that. And even if you're coming here in the summer, we're here in the summer. Notice I'm wearing a quarter zip. I have a jacket in my backpack. You're going to want to have layers when you're here, because during the day, it can be nice. But once it gets towards evening, you can get a little chill in the air, so make sure you do have those layers. Remember I said it might be a little chilly in the evening, so you want to have a quarter zip or something fuzzy to keep you warm? Well, guess what? The next thing that's going to shock you is one of those fuzzy animals when you're here, the Shetland ponies. Yes, those little tiny fuzzy ponies, they're from here. They're from Shetland Islands, and you will see them around the island. And you're like, oh, they're so cute. And they're shockingly cute when you're there, and you're like, oh, I want to pet them. Don't pet them, okay? They're kind of like, you know, rock stars. They're like, hey, I'm a Shetland pony in Shetland, leave me alone. And so they'll just love the grass they're eating. And also don't feed them when you are there, because they've been here so long, used to eating like the peat grass and stuff like that, that they're used to like rougher stuff that's not as like energy intense kind of stuff. So they'll literally eat themselves to death if they're in like an overly green field. So don't feed them when you are there. And I think I mentioned some of the other like cool animals that are here. One, you can see the puffins, which is always nice when you're here. You'll see them flying and diving in the water and stuff like that. You will definitely see some seals around. You can see otters and otter crossings and stuff like that. And of course, there's the sheep here. They're like little tinier sheep, the Shetland sheep. They're really cute, but they're also really tasty, just FYI, so you have that. And so you'll see the birds all around. You'll see birders that come here. So there's a lot of animals you can see, and sometimes if you're lucky, you actually see a pod of orcas or other whales, and that's a really kind of a cool thing to do. Now, the eighth thing that might shock when you come here, and maybe it won't shock you so much, you've been in Scotland, but just how nice and friendly and welcoming the people of the Shetland Islands are. I mean, Scotland in general has like some awesome people, and they are super friendly and helpful, but like Shetland like takes it to the next level in terms of helping you out, figuring things out for you. We're here exploring our ancestors, and when people find out, oh, what are your ancestors, they're helping us figure out which house was there, where you needed to go. Oh, here's some records. Oh, we went to Walsey, okay, it's an island over there, and the lady came and opened up the museum for us, and on a day it was closed, just so we could learn about the area, and we shared with her, had tea and cookies and biscuits, I should say. It was just a really great thing, and the people are wonderful. And the thing is, I know for a lot of travelers, sometimes it's hard to meet locals. Look, take the time to say hi to some of the locals. If you don't, on Sundays, you can go have tea with the locals, okay? So Sunday afternoons at the local halls, you can actually go there, and they'll have, you know, coffee, tea, and biscuits and stuff like that. You can go sit, have some stuff, chat with the locals, meet them to learn some more. So definitely do that, because it's a really fun thing to do, and it gives you a chance to meet some of the great locals here. And the thing is that when you meet the locals, you might notice another thing that shocks you that goes along with the people is their accent. I mean, I know we make jokes about the Scottish accent, and the farther you go north, the crazier the accent seems. Well, Shetland's like another level of that, so don't be surprised if you don't quite understand everything everyone tells you or says to you. So you might have a lot of smiling and yes-yesing over there, or asking to repeat themselves. It's okay. way, they know it as well. And the thing is, you're going to be talking to the locals. Maybe you're going to see some of the local weavers. You know, you might see one of the ladies here that are weavers. You can see some cool stuff. I mean, there's a weaving museum. We met Wilma, who's the Shetland designer. She showed us how she was making the designs for the weaves and the weaving with the wool for the sweaters and the hats and stuff like that. So it's really kind of a cool thing. So definitely take the time to meet the locals because they really are super nice. Now, the next thing that shocks people, and this is not just in Shetland, but this is all over Scotland, is a lot of people, when they think of Scottish food, they think, oh, it's haggis and that's it. Look, here in Shetland, it's not a haggis country, man. This place is seafood. You're gonna have amazing mussels. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have those and your tummy's gonna be so surprised. Feed me more, feed me more. You can have scallops from Orkney that come up here, or some they get around here. The salmon, we had monkfish last night. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You'll have so much seafood when you are here. But the thing is, you also get really good beef here. Oh man, the beef here is phenomenal. And the lamb, they have the lambs here are a bit smaller, you know, and it's, I don't know, maybe it's more intense flavor because they're more packed together, but it is really, really good. So you can have a lot of really good stuff. And honestly, I've been trying the local brews here, whether you're at the Lerwick Brewery or the other breweries around the islands. There's a lot of really good beer to try when you are here. But the one food I was sad I missed, as it's not seasoned anymore, is we missed the rhubarb, and there's a lot of rhubarb stuff here you can have certain times of the year. So if you can have that, do have a rhubarb dessert or something so you can enjoy that. Now, the 10th thing that shocks tourists when they come here is the Scandinavian feel and influence that you actually do see and feel when you're here in the Shetland Islands. Because actually the Shetland Islands were with Norway until like a few hundred years ago. It's not that long ago that it was. And there's still a lot of bonds between Norway and here in the Shetland Islands. Like you will see most of the tourists coming here, if they're not from the UK, they're actually from Norway. I mean, there's flights to Norway from here, no problem. And so you have all this really great relationships. When you're in Scalloway, go to the Scalloway Museum and you'll see the Shetland bus. It's where they used to take refugees from Norway during the Second World War and bring them here to Shetland. I mean, it's just an amazing story when you learn about what happened. You're like, why isn't there a movie about this? Because it's so cool. And probably the Scandinavian thing that's going to shock you the most, if you're here for it, there's only one day of the year. It's actually the last Tuesday in January, is Uppelia. I know I'm probably saying it wrong, but don't worry, the locals will know what you're talking about. And it's basically the Viking Fire Festival. Like Lerwick here, all the lights are off, and you have like 1,000 people going with torches going through the town, and they have a Viking longboat in the square, and the park, I should say, and they burn it. Like it's like a big, huge bonfire with it going, and there's partying and drinking and all kinds of great stuff going on. And afterwards, the party continues all night long, and they go to the different halls around town because all those people with the torches that threw it and burned the boat, well, they've all been practicing a skit or something fun during the year, and so they go and they perform at all the different halls and have a really good time. But it's crazy. I mean, honestly, look it up online to see some of the videos on it. It's nuts. So those are 10 things that we feel might shock tourists when they come here to the Shetland Islands. And let's be honest, those are all fun shocks that you'll really enjoy when you're here. We've really enjoyed our time here, if you can't tell. Maybe it's because our family's from here from back in the day. I don't know. But it was really cool because we got to see some of our old family homes like 5 or 6 generations ago. But still, you got some connection here, and it was a really cool time, and we really enjoyed ourselves. And I thought it'd be a good time to ask a local, what are 5 things we should know about Scotland before we come here? And I know the Scots have a reputation for being value-oriented. Would that be a good way to put it? Do you have any good tips on being value-oriented when I come here to Scotland?
Search sites like 5 p.m.
Okay, so 5 p.m.
Yep,
Groupon.
It is on.
It is on?
It is on, yep. Okay. They will have hotel deals where they'll throw in evening meals and breakfast. So if you're touring Scotland, you'll get a couple of nights at Skye or near Aberdeen or up in the Highlands for £100, £150 for breakfast, evening meal for three nights.
And that's the thing, is that's 3 nights. That's not one night, that's 3 nights. That's pretty cool. So
yes.
5 p.m., Groupon, and
it is on.
It's on. Okay, so check those out, and we'll have links to that down below. So another thing that some of our fans have actually asked me about is actually hiking here in Scotland. And I'll be honest, when we were here with Caleb and Liam when they were younger, we would just stop the car and just go walk and hike and stuff because there's so many hills and mountains. There's so much greatness here about doing that. So what advice do you have for some of the hiking trips or anything we should think about?
There's one called the West Highland Way. and that's 96 miles, and it goes from Glasgow to Inverness, Fort William, sorry.
Fort William, okay.
And that has multiple stops along the way where you can arrange to have all your tent or any backpacks or anything. They will transport that from each stop, so all you need to carry from each stage is basically food for the day.
That's awesome.
If you want to do something really special, go to the stores in Skye, which are continually voted one of the most beautiful places on earth. And as you said, stop the car, park, and walk up a hill.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning.
And we did that with Caleb back when he was little. Oh my God, he was like, Dad, can we stop? I'm like, sure. Like my mom was there, my dad was there, Jocelyn, me, Caleb. Liam wasn't born yet, and we would just go out and hike up a hill here, and you just get these great views everywhere. And Isle of Skye is fantastic just in general. I mean, I know you're a big Isle of Skye fan like me. Any tips for Isle of Skye or anything to tell them?
Isle of Skye, you have the fairy pools that you have to go to as well. You can actually go and swim in there. And there's also up the north of the island, there is fossilised dinosaur footprints on the beach. A wee bit harder to find, but you know,
you can find them.
Yeah, a big range of things.
Yeah, and
Skye is beautiful.
Yeah. And I feel bad because Liam is a super huge fan of dinosaurs and stuff like that. And we were there before he was born. I'm like, we got to go back because it's just gorgeous there.
Yep.
All right. Next thing we need to talk about, a lot of people like to talk about Scottish weather. And you guys like to say, it's like, oh, just wait, what, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it'll change?
Don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes, sorry,
yeah.
so 15 minutes. Yeah, I mean, okay, so for example, today we're on yellow warnings for thunderstorms and rain, and it's been sunny all day. Like, we went out in t-shirts. Like, this is the third shirt I've worn today. This is the fourth shirt, and this is the fifth thing. Because we went out thinking it was going to rain, and it was hot and sunny and beautiful, and we sweated through all of our clothes. But here, the weather is temperamental,
to say the least. If you were coming, bring a poncho, a rain jacket that will fit in a bag. It will rain.
Yes, it will rain multiple times.
Yes, but from that rain, you also have to prepare for the midges.
Oh, the midges, yes.
Which are basically tiny flying piranhas.
Yes.
And they will eat you alive. So bring something that's going to be insect repellent. If you're out at night, they will get you.
Yeah, and the farther you go north, like in the Highlands and Northern Highlands and stuff like that, I know Liam, when we were here, I mean, I don't know how that kid survived because I don't think any blood left in him because it can be really bad. So have your insect repellent or just have the bands and stuff like that. It can make a really big difference. So another thing people like to know about when they travel is the food. Now, for me, people love Scottish food, but should they be dissing Scottish food? Should they making fun of that stuff?
Traditional food is stodge. It was built so that if you get stuck in a snowdrift, you didn't starve to death. You would survive, right? It was very heavy food. Now, Scottish food is as good as anywhere you'll find. There's a restaurant in Edinburgh called The Kitchen, run by Tom Kitchen. World-class food, set menu for £33. Very hard to get into, but fantastic value.
Worth every penny, or every pence.
Glasgow has fantastic restaurants, but it's also some of the UK's best Indian food. Localised food. You know, if you're out at 5, you've got 4 for varieties, which is almost like a pie, just built for this golden.
Built for men like us.
A growth, you've got smokies, which is smoked fish, and they're all sold out of very small units from the fisherman's family, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, my mom and I are here now, but I've come here with Jocelyn, I've come here with the boys, I've come here with my parents, I've come here by myself, I've come here with friends, and you eat really well when you are here. Like, the seafood in general for me is the bomb, but like the beef, the lamb,
Seafood, Scotland has, I think it's something like 6,000 miles of coast. It's got some of the best.
So you're telling me we can get some good seafood?
Yes.
Right.
Again on Skye.
On Skye, heck yeah. And so, like with the food, so some things people should know, like the water, you have no problem drinking here, right?
No, best drinking water you'll find in the world. The tap water is fantastic.
Yeah, the tap water tastes better than the bottled water, just in general. But like, for me, when I've gone around Scotland, I've loved drinking like the local beers and whiskeys. Like, do you have any advice on like beers or anything like that, or whiskeys, or just in general? Is there any kind of strong, like strong drink we should have over here?
Iron Brew, obviously.
Iron Brew.
Yeah. You can't come to Scotland and not have Iron Brew. beers can be, some can be quite regional, so just ask the barman, do you know what I mean, what they recommend. You've got all your normal stuff that you get at every bar, but ask the barman. Whiskies, again, if you're in Glasgow, there's a bar called Pot Still, that is a fantastic range of whiskies. My own personal preference is a 12-year-old Bowmore, which just smells like liquid barbecue. It is fantastic. You just sit, very smoky.
That sounds dang good. Dang good. So all your like preconceptions of food and drink when you come here, they will be blown away when you come to Scotland, because the food and the drink is really great when you are here. So another thing you need to know when you come to Scotland is there's more than a few castles when you come to Scotland, right?
Listen, every town or every city's got its castle.
Yeah, or two,
yeah,
or three, or 4 or 5. And you're going to see a lot of stuff here. The history and the museums in Scotland are just unbelievable. You want to?
A lot of the museums are free, so it's ideal on a day like today when maybe going to rain, you can spend some time. The castles you have to pay for, but you know, they're well worth it. But again, maybe come back to the saving money. They all look the same once you get in.
True, so, they do look the same. And I will say, it's like you can get some good deals. Like if you're a member of Historic Scotland or the National Trust for Scotland, you can get into these places for free, like you pay the membership. But some of them still actually like packets, so you buy like a 2-day pass or a week-long pass, and they can actually save you money to go on all of them. You only pay once, so you get to see so much stuff. And honestly, after 2 castles, it pays for itself. I mean,
yes,
it's great.
Yeah, 2 castles, it's paid for itself. Edinburgh Castle is probably the most popular one. Stirling is a real castle. In fact, I've seen a lot of battles. And from Stirling Castle, you can see down to the film World War. Braveheart. Although, don't look at the statue, the Wallace Monument. It's a statue of Mel Gibson, not of. It is absolutely terrible. But you can see that battlefield of Stirling Bridge. Donaghadore Castle near Aberdeen is probably my own personal favourite.
We've been there before. We went there with Caleb years ago, and he loved it. He had a great time.
Doning's another stunning castle. That's the one at the start of Highlander. Just people who are familiar with that. A tip for that is don't park in the car park to get a picture. Cross the bridge at the other side of it and get a picture facing the other way.
Oh right, we made the right choice back in the day. Thank you. See, this is why we have awesome travelers that know the extra tips. You rock, buddy. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, and so the last thing I want to talk about is one of the best parts of coming to Scotland are the people like Scott. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Scottish people are awesome. They will talk to you. They will share stuff. And I mean, I'm going to guess you probably know more about the U.S. and politics and what's going on in the U.S. than a lot of Americans do. I mean, the people are really awesome. So go out and talk to them.
Here we are here at the Grass Market, just lined with famous pubs. You'll go in there and you will make a friend. Glasgow's the same. When you go into a pub in Glasgow, you will make friends, and they'll be happy to talk about
anything.
Brexit, the right or wrong, the referendum, yes or no. Do you know what I mean? You will happily talk to your ears hurt.
Yeah, and that's just great. I mean, so we were at the White Hart Inn for the last, 3 hours?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I may have had a few drinks. He was being responsible, as a good Scotsman would be. And how many people cycled through the table that night? 10 people?
Yeah.
Like 10 people.
Speaking to them all.
Yeah, we're speaking to them all, and you're going to do that when you're here. So make sure you take the time to chat with the locals when you're here. Because honestly, wherever you go in the world, Scotsmen are some of the best people to talk to because they're good people and awesome people with great fashion sense, by the way. Thank you very much. And one that came up quite often was, Mark, what's the best way to get around Scotland? Like, do I drive? Do I take the buses, the trains? What really works? Honestly, you can get around Scotland with taking the train or the buses getting around. They have a pretty good public transportation system. But the thing is, a lot of the places you want to visit when you come to Scotland are off the beaten track. Going to see those castles, coming here, the Shetland Islands, or going to the Isle of Skye and stuff like that. And that means you really do need to have your own transportation, having your own car when you are here. Now, that leads into the next question a lot of people ask is, how do I drive on the left side of the road? Now, for those who don't know, Scotland drives on the left, just like the rest of the UK. And a lot of people get scared by this. We actually have videos talking about it to help people feel more comfortable driving on the left because it's not as hard as it seems. It's just weird at first, and yes, the roundabouts will scare you, but just know you need to make sure you're always concentrating, and I highly recommend you get a GPS from your rental car agency, because though your phone will do a good job of, getting you the GPS stuff, I find that the actual dedicated GPS for the car actually does a better job on the roundabouts to tell you when to turn off and stuff like that than your phone does. Okay, so that's from my personal experience of driving in Scotland multiple times, England, Wales, Ireland. I found that the dedicated GPS device does a better job. But honestly, if you really want to enjoy Scotland, you really want to go out and be able to explore places like this, the Shetland Islands, you have to have your own mode of transportation. That means your own car. Okay, now if you're going to be going to the major cities and stuff like that, then buses will be fine. The trains actually up here are very nice, so you'll be okay with that. So you can get around fine. It's just that if you want to go off of the beaten path and explore, you do need to have your own car. Okay, now the next question a lot of people ask me, hey, can I use euros when I go to Scotland? No, you cannot use euros when you go to Scotland. They take the pound. Okay, they use the British pound when you're here in Scotland, so euros are not accepted. Now, having said that, maybe if you're in Edinburgh at a really tourist shop, they might let you pay with euros. Of course, you probably won't get a very good exchange rate, so you're best to have pounds in the first place. Okay, so remember, it's pounds here. Now, my next question is, people ask about, what about Scottish pounds? Are they accepted other places? For those who don't know, the British pound works in Northern Ireland, Wales, England, and Scotland, right? And Scotland actually gets to print some of its own currency, and there's actually 3 banks that actually do print Scottish pounds. So you have the Clydesdale Bank, they have their own, there's a £20 note from them. And then there's, the Royal Bank of Scotland has their £20 note. Then you have also just the Bank of Scotland. They have their own note. And then, of course, you might just have the Bank of England, normal £20 note that you'll see everywhere. And you can use these anywhere in Scotland, no big deal. Nobody cares one way or the other which one you do use. Just know that when you leave Scotland, sometimes I find that when this happens, it's more like in the south of England at smaller shops. People might be like, I don't want any Scottish pounds, or like at a food truck or something like that. But in general, people will take the Scottish pounds pretty much anywhere, especially if you're in like Middle England and North. You should be okay. Now, do they have to take it? Do they not have to take it? I'm not going to get into that, because all that matters is one person say, no, I'm not going to use the Scottish pounds, that you might have an issue. So I might recommend is when you're in Scotland, when you take out money from the ATM, it might be a mix of different kinds of pounds and stuff like that. When you're leaving, try to make sure you're keeping your British pounds separate from the Scottish pounds, or I should say the English Bank of England pounds separate from your Scottish ones, and use your Scottish pounds as much as you can when you are there. Now, the thing is, if you're in Scotland, you can use your credit card pretty much everywhere, so it's not really a big deal. And the last question I got was, hey, Mark, what are some local dishes we should have when we're there? Now, of course, probably the most famous of the Scottish dishes is haggis, which is like, intestines and all this kind of stuff stuck together with all kinds of flavorings. And for a lot of people, it's a bit much. Luckily, now they have like little haggis bonbons, so like little tiny meatball versions of it. Try that for an appetizer to say you had haggis. I don't mind it, actually. I actually like it. Liam loves it, so it's not like it's a horrible thing. But when you are here, what I would recommend is focus on seafood, lamb, and beef. Okay, the Scottish lamb is fantastic. Here in the Shetland Islands, their lamb is off the charts. The beef's really good, but for me, I really enjoy eating the seafood when I'm here. The salmon, yes, the salmon here is amazing. Having your haddock fish and chips, that's always really good. We had some amazing monkfish last night, but what's really nice is you have a lot of shellfish too, so you might have mussels from here in the Shetland Islands, always a good call. Maybe from Orkney, you might have the scallops that are there, and we'd have even some lobster and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of really good seafood when you're here, so make sure you're having that. And if you're looking for something to drink, they have their own like popular soda, which is called Iron Brew. It tastes like orange bubblegum, kind of. That's the flavor of the soda. So you'll see that all around. You can grab that in a bottle or in a can to go around. Whiskey, remember whiskey without the E, that's very popular. Obviously here, Scotch whiskey. You can go on tours and try some out. It's always a nice thing. And actually some bars will give you flights of whiskeys to try in certain locations, especially if it's a tourist place, which means you'll need more of these to pay for the whiskey than at a normal bar or pub. Also, one thing is Scotland has its own beers and ales. Definitely drink the local beers. I mean, Tennent's is kind of like the like standard beer that you find a lot of places all over, but I find like the local breweries, like here in Shetland, there's a lot of local brews, 60 Degree North and other ones that actually make some really good beers. So you can get some really good beer and ale when you are in Scotland, so you'll be okay with that. So the next question I get is a lot of people have asked, hey, what's the difference between Glasgow and Edinburgh? Which one should I go to first? Or if I can only choose one, which one should it be? Well, both cities are well worth visiting. And Glasgow, I used to not be the biggest fan of Glasgow, but Glasgow has really made a turnaround the last 5 or 10 years. Like, it's a cool place to go. But I think as a tourist, for your first visit to Scotland, I think Edinburgh is probably a better first visit because there's so many sights to see in a relatively close space that you can walk around. Yes, there's hills and stuff like that you have to deal with, but there's so, like the Royal Mile going up that way, you know, the palace at the bottom and the castle up on the top. There's all kinds of really cool shops when you're going around, really good museums when you're there. There's just a lot of stuff you can do, bars, restaurants, all kinds of stuff. It's really built well up for tourists to enjoy the city, and I really like that. Now, Glasgow has got some cool stuff there, don't get me wrong, and honestly, for like normal shopping, like clothes shopping and living and work, Glasgow's a better city to be. So if you're looking to like move to Scotland for work, Glasgow's probably a more place you have a better chance than you were in Edinburgh. But if you're a tourist, going to Edinburgh is probably your best choice, okay, over Glasgow. But they're both good. I'm not dissing either of them. They're both worth seeing. And I think the last thing I should add, the people ask, is how expensive is it to come to Scotland? To be honest, I find Scotland a bit cheaper than going to England. And for people that their idea of prices in England is London, it's cheaper than going to London. Don't worry about that. There is a very busy season in the summer, especially in the Highlands and other places, so make sure that you do prepare and book ahead for accommodation, restaurants in small towns during high season. When you book your hotel, book the restaurant as well, so you have that.
Generally, in Scotland, you tip 10% for wait staff and 10% also for taxis, or you can just round up with the taxis. So typically at a bar, you don't tip unless you're buying like a whole round, and then you just sort of throw down £1 or so. And that's usually what's expected.
Check it out. Somebody's getting ahead of something. Somebody getting more than you, eh?
I think so. You're just easily full. Get away.
Look at that. Short. Heavy little beast. he was so young that he accepted food a lot more easily. So he's probably been a lot easier to deal with.
Give me a couple seconds here.
Oi, we're talking to you. And here you go. Come on, eat it. Oi. No. No, they got too much of it. Look at the colors. I mean, these are quite old. But you can see the lava flows.
Oh yeah.
Ancient volcanoes. These are the individual flows of lava that came out of the volcanoes. Millions of years ago. I had to quit the arse off and go and stay in the fish factory. So have you just woken up, eh? Or have we woken you up? He's great photo. Check it out. We're getting more of you, eh? Get away. Look at that.
And I want to start off with one that you're probably hearing right now. First thing you're not going to like when you come to Shetland is the weather. There's lots of wind, there's lots of rain, the fog will creep up out of nowhere, and you can't see some of these beautiful views sometimes, and it can be annoying. So just know, the locals don't like it too much either. So if you're going to be coming in the winter time, expect higher winds, storms, things like that, rough seas and stuff. So do have a heads up for it. So make sure if you're coming, no matter what time of year you're coming, bring multiple layers. I'm here in the summer and I've got my quarter zip, a t-shirt, I got a jacket in the car, and I wish I had it on right now. So that might be the first thing you don't like, is the weather here not the most idyllic for tourism, let's say. Now, the second thing you might not like is when you actually come here is the trouble with getting a cabin on the ferry. Now, you can take a ferry from Aberdeen to here in the Shetland Islands. It's about a 12-hour ferry, or you can fly from Aberdeen to Edinburgh. Those are pretty quick flights. But if you're going to take your car and stuff like that, because you need that to drive around, you're probably going to take the ferry, and those cabins, they sell out rather quickly. So if you know you're going to come, book a cabin as soon as you can, so you know you get a place to sleep, like a room for yourself on the ferry, because otherwise you have like those chairs, you kind of sleeper chairs you sleep in with everyone else, which can be kind of loud and annoying and uncomfortable. So just have a heads up for it. But if you don't mind like sleeping like in a plane type setting, then you'll be okay without a cabin. But I know that's one of the things a lot of the locals really complained about to us, is kind of the lack of cabin space sometimes on the ferry. So make sure you're planning ahead if you can. Now, the third thing you might not like when you're coming here is, what you have to realize is when you're here on the Shetland Islands, it's very kind of isolated islands and isolated sites and stuff like that. So a lot of times what you're doing is you're driving down a road to see a site, and then you have to drive all the way back up that same road in order to get back to where you want to go next, which sometimes makes people feel like they're wasting time. But honestly, with the views that you have here, you're not really wasting time, because on the way down to the site, right, whether you're going to like Jarlshof and you're going to see those ruins there, you're going to like some of the cliffs and stuff like that, you can look out out this side when you're going the way there, and then you look out the other side on your way back, and you get to see both sides instead of trying to do both sides. So I guess in that way it's good, but it does kind of make you feel like sometimes you're backtracking quite a bit, and I know that can annoy some kind of travelers. Now the fourth thing you might not like is if you are a person that doesn't like to drive or gets scared about driving on the left side of the road, because we are in the UK, the thing you're not going to like next is actually there's kind of a lack of public transportation here in the Shetland Islands. Now there are some buses, like if you fly in the airport you can grab a bus to get to Lerwick and stuff like that, and there are ferries that go to the island, so there's that kind of public transportation. But if you want to get around and go to places, it is a bit limited, so you really do need to rent a car. Remember, most of the cars here will be stick shift as well, so you really have to pay up if you want to get that automatic, and there's no guarantee you're going to get it. So make sure you're reserving your car before you come here, so you know you have a spot. If you've got kids, you're bringing them, same thing with the car seat. Make sure you're reserving that way in advance so you know they're holding it for you. And when you're driving around, if you're not used to like one-lane roads and stuff like that, that can be a bit hair-raising as well. So just realize when there's the one-lane roads you're driving on, a lot of them will have like a little step out or a little bump out, and that's where you park and let the other person go by, or they might park to the side to let you go by. So just have a heads up for that. And the fifth thing you might not like about coming to the Shetland Islands, which isn't really a not like kind of thing, it's just an issue you might have, is some communication breakdown. Now, I'm not saying your phone won't work. Yeah, your phone works most of the time here, no problem. I mean, I've only had a few drop signals and stuff like that, so you're okay with that. But the actual communication issues you might have is understanding the Shetland accent. Look, I know people joke about Scottish accents. The farther you go north, the tougher it gets. Well, you don't get farther north in Scotland than here in the Shetland Islands. And here, even here in Walsey, the other people in Shetland make fun of the people's accents here because it's even stronger. So just know that you might have to be a lot of like, yeah, smile and just nod things when you don't understand, or ask people to repeat themselves. It's okay to do that. They know their accents are strong, so they know that sometimes tourists don't always catch everything, but it's just one of those nice little quirky things about coming here to the Shetland Islands. But in general, I don't really have a lot I don't like about coming here. It's not really super expensive or anything like that. I mean, it's more like, you know, normal Scotland prices, maybe a little bit more in certain settings, but the places to go aren't expensive. The museums aren't expensive, things like that. So there's not really much to dislike about it, but I try to get some of the not so fun things out there. But what are you going to love when you're here? Well, you see this view behind me? This isn't even one of the better views you're going to see in Shetland. Shetland's got so much great like nature out there, so you can do hikes and walks and stuff like that. Go along the coastlines, go and hike in the hills and stuff like this. You can do those things. It's just gorgeous. The cliffs you can see and all the different geological features that are here and the different landscapes you're going to see. It's just really great. And no, you won't see too many trees when you're here, like none, except like in people's yards or gardens. But honestly, it is just an amazing thing. And you'll see all the stone that's here. And that leads into the second thing you're going to love, is all the stone buildings. Whether you're seeing some of the croft houses, so those are the old farmhouses you can go to with the oat straw roofs. There's actually a museum you can go to that shows you what they were like inside. And honestly, people were living in those things until relatively recently. Until the oil boom in the 70s came here, you still had a lot of those being used as people's homes. So if you talk to people, ask them how much things have changed in the last 30 or 40 years. I mean, it's been a big difference. So you have those. But for me, the coolest thing is if you're going to places like Jarlshof, which was inhabited for a few thousand years in different parts of human history. There was Picts there were Vikings, there were Bronze Age, Iron Age people, all kinds of stuff. And they found all the remnants of these towns and these little villages and buildings you can go and see, like the Brocks. You can see, Brock of Mara. You can go there and see that on the little Mara Island. You can see those. There's huge stone structures. It's a really, really cool thing. And of course, you got the Scatness one, which is actually right next to the airport. Like, you'll see the planes landing and taking off while you're walking around the site. So that is very nice. Now, the third thing you're gonna love when you come here is the hospitality of the locals here in Shetland. I mean, Scotland in general has super nice people, but here in Shetland, they like take that nice, helpful level a little bit higher. So you will, if you have any questions, any things at all, people will be glad to help you out, which is fantastic. I know we're here, there's a museum right behind here, and actually my ancestors lived right here. The museum was closed. We called the number there. Alice came up, opened it up, is giving a little tour to my mom and myself and all these kind of things. It's just a nice thing to do. I mean, Shetland just has some of the nicest people out there. I mean, it got voted like the best rural place in Scotland to live, and one of the big reasons is because the people are so nice. And it's funny because a lot of people now that we're here in Shetland keep asking us about the TV series, Shetland Now, does it have all those murders? Is it crazy as it sounds? Look, Shetland's like one of the safest places in the world. Like, it is not like think back in the day to Murder, She Wrote. Like Cabot Cove, you can't have 300 people get murdered in a town of 400 people. You know, it doesn't work that way. Here in Shetland, it's a really safe place, and the people make it so wonderful and safe that you'll really enjoy it when you are here. And the next thing, it kind of goes in with the people thing, is you have to realize there's a lot of Norwegian influence here in the Shetland Islands. I mean, it's only been not part of like Norway and Scandinavia kind of stuff for a few hundred years. So there's a lot of influence here, and one of those influences is the Uphalia festival or fire festival that they have the last Tuesday in January, where like people are going through Lerwick with torches and they're dressed as Vikings and they party all night and they burn a Viking longboat. It's really, really cool. There's lots of videos out there to show you for it. You have to book way in advance for it just to make sure you get accommodation and being able to get here, but it is a really cool thing. But I really enjoy the connection that the Shetland Islands has with Norway, and it's not just the Viking history kind of stuff. Actually, if you look into World War II, look into the Shetland bus. No one ever talks about this, but they used to shuttle, you know, people from Norway here to the Shetland Islands to get them out of Nazi-occupied Norway. It's a fantastic story. If you go to Scalloway, they have the Scalloway Museum. It goes through the whole history of it. It's pretty fantastic. Like, we need a movie about this guy and this whole situation that was there. It's just so cool. And the fifth thing you're gonna love when you come here are the ponies and the puffins. Now, you know the Shetland ponies, those little tiny hairy fuzzy ponies that you're like, oh my God, they're so cute. Are they real? Yes, they are real, and they're from here. And you'll go around and you will see them because people will breed them and they'll have them and stuff like that. And it's really, really cool. You're like, oh my God, they're real. Now, don't get too like up close and personal with them, but just know that those ponies are there, so it adds to like the nice vibe to it. And the lambs here as well, the sheep they have around here, you got a lot of, you know, Shetland lambs as well, which are quite tasty and quite cute at the same time. So whether you like to eat lamb or not, you're going to enjoy them. So there is that. Also, of course, you have seals that are here. We've seen tons of seals. There's otters that are here. There's all kinds of wildlife you can enjoy when you are here. And that does include the bird life. Like when you're along the coast and the cliffs and stuff like that, you'll see seagulls and stuff like that. But you'll also see puffins, those cute little birds, the blackbirds with the orange beaks and stuff like that. You'll see them being silly all around, flying up, going to the water and things like that. It's really kind of a cool thing.
Scotland is one of the prettiest places you can come to visit in Europe. All right? But what I'm going to do is give you, like I said, the 5 best and the 5 worst. The 5 things you'll love, the 5 things you'll hate, because no matter where you go, I mean, you're going to love some stuff and you're going to hate some stuff. I mean, I love coming to Scotland. This is amazing, a great trip, wonderful people, all kinds of stuff, but there's still stuff you're not going to like. All right? So let's get to it. First off, things you're not going to like about coming to Scotland. Number 1, it is expensive. Okay? Whether it's food, public transport, accommodation, the sites, the castles, it is expensive. Not only because the pound is stronger than the dollar or the euro, but the prices are high anyway. Okay, so it's not going to be an economical vacation for you. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing you're not going to like, you want to buy anything after 6 o'clock, all the shops are closed. Except for some off-license shops and restaurants and stuff, they're open. But anything else, you want to get clothes or whatever, you're going to have a problem because 6 o'clock, stores are closed. Okay, I ripped my pants the other day. It was 6:30, whoops, so I got to wear ripped pants for 2 days. All right, so just remember that. All the stores are closed by 6 o'clock, so get all your stuff purchased before then. Okay? The third thing you're going to hate about Scotland is finding accommodation. Guys, it's really hard to find good, affordable accommodation in Scotland in general, okay? But the really good places book out a long time in advance. All right? So unless you want to stay at a crappy hostel, you're going to need to book ahead, okay? So have a long list of places you'd like to stay and book a lot in advance to make sure you get someplace, all right? The fourth thing that you're going to hate about Scotland is there's limited public transport to get to a lot of the back places, like coming to places like this in the Isle of, near the Isle of Skye and, going to Shetland, things like that. It's not really easy to get to with public transport. The trains don't go everywhere. I mean, basically you're going to take the trains to Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and Inverness. Aside from that, forget the trains. You're going to take buses, and those things are expensive too, and they don't go everywhere. So what you're going to be doing is renting a car, and that's why the public transport thing is one of the things you're going to hate, because you're going to have to rent a car and drive around. And if you're from the continent, or you're from the U.S. or Canada, driving on the other side, the left side of the road, does make things a little bit more interesting. The lanes, the roundabouts, and all these things. So that's something that's going to get a little annoying. And also, if you're going to be here in August and July, when it's a high tourist season, these places where there's no cars now in May, they're like a big traffic jam. Okay, when you're going down by Loch Ness on the 82, you're going to be like, wow, why is it so packed? Okay? We'll let our bikers get off here. Alright. Now, the fifth thing that you're going to hate about Scotland, and luckily I haven't had this problem yet, is the weather. Okay, usually the weather, it's cold, it's rainy, not that great. If you're coming here in the winter months, it's dark all the time. Now, in the summer, it's great because you get light all the time. Alright? But in general, you're going to have bad weather, rain, cold, you know, so that's kind of the bad things. But if you come in a time when you get good weather, you're going to love it. Okay, so those are 5 things you're going to hate about coming to Scotland. 1, it's expensive. 2, the shops close at 6. 3, it's hard to find accommodation. 4, limited public transport, therefore you're going to have to drive everywhere. But that works out okay because you can see a lot more cool stuff. And number 5, the weather. Okay, now what are 5 things you're going to love about Scotland? Because guys, believe me, Scotland is amazing. Though I hated renting the car and stuff, you want to do it because Scotland is so beautiful. Okay, so the 5 things you're going to love. First off, before I talk about the castles and the beauty, the people are the best thing here. They are so nice. You're going to have your best service in Europe here in Scotland. Everyone from the bartender to the maid to the people on the street want to tell you what to see, where to go, and they're really friendly about it in a very nice way. Okay, so possibly the best people in Europe here in Scotland. Okay, that's the first thing you're going to love. Second thing you're going to love, boom, castles. Whether it's in Edinburgh or in Aberdeenshire or wherever, there's castles to see all over. There's so many castles in Scotland, there's no point in me making a list because it's basically, it'll go the entire video of the names of the castles. Alright? But you want to go in and there's ruined castles, there's lived-in castles, there's stately manor houses, there's all kinds of things to check out. So make sure you get on there and find the castle roads and all those things because they are to die for. Also, if you look in the back, the landscape. Number 3 that you're going to love here is the landscape. Scotland is a beautiful country. We just came through the mountains here. We're traveling the Highlands. You see Loch Ness, Aberdeenshire. Then everywhere you go, the landscape is beautiful. I mean, literally, you're just looking out the window thinking, man, I wish I could take pictures all the time because it is beautiful here. Okay? Number 4 that you're going to love. Okay, after the people and the landscapes and the castles, one thing you're going to love is the whiskey, the distilleries. Going on a distillery tour is really an educational thing. Even if you don't drink whiskey, or scotch as we like to call it, you are going to love it. Okay, because it teaches you the difference between Irish and Scotch whiskey, American whiskey, all these things, and it's a fun thing to do. You go through, have a couple for free, you know, get a little discount for some whiskey to take home with, but I mean, it is a really cool thing. It's something you should do when you're here. And the 5th thing you're going to love about Scotland is when you're outside, there's one of 2 things. 1, going hiking. I mean, there's amazing trails here to go through the mountains and the highlands and everywhere. Okay, or golfing. Okay, depending on what kind of shoes you want to bring, hiking shoes or golf shoes. Golf golf was born here in Scotland, St. Andrews. I mean, it's a little bit hard to get into St. Andrews, but a lot of other towns, like every little town I've gone to, seems to have a little golf course. So you can go and play, and it's cheap, it's fun. You can rent tickets, you can rent clubs, all kinds of stuff, and it's good fun. Okay, so the 5 things you're going to love about Scotland are 1, the people, possibly the best in Europe, and the service is outstanding here. 2, the castles all over the country, all over the countryside and in the cities. Number 3, the beautiful countryside and landscapes. Number 4, the distilleries and having some whiskey and trying those things. And number 5, hiking and golfing in Scotland. Okay. Now, first up, what you need to know is the Isle of Skye, you're going to need your own transport. So you're going to be renting a car. So when you're here renting, realize there's a lot of single-lane roads, okay? And a lot of times you have to veer off to the side for other cars and things like that. Also, there are sheep in the road. Literally, on the road, the A87 or wherever, sheep come in onto the road all the time, so make sure you watch out. Hey guys, driving here in Scotland, there's one thing you have to watch out in the Isle of Skye is there are sheep in the road occasionally. So be careful, because you got to watch out. In terms of what you should see when you're here, the Isle of Skye is amazingly beautiful, guys. I mean, this is probably the ugliest view of the whole island. This is beautiful. There's mountains, there's lochs, there's streams, there's waterfalls. There's so much you're going to want to see when you're here. That's why you want to have a car to drive around and see it all. So what are the things to see? 1, you have the Slate Peninsula in the very south. That has a lot of the vegetation to check out. So it looks a lot different than this kind of barren wasteland we have here. Okay? So the Slate Peninsula is really cool. Next, you want to go to the very north. You see where the MacLeod clan is, and they're Dunvegan Castle. It's in a little small town called Dunvegan. You go there, there's a castle, it has their history of their clan there. There's a nice garden there. You can take tours to see seals and dolphins and all kinds of stuff. The Dunvegan Castle, the home of the Clan MacLeod. And for you guys that ever watched the Highlander TV show or cartoons, the Clan MacLeod, yeah, that's these guys. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Bye. From the Isle of Skye. And if you go also, some other places, you have Porridge, which is the capital of the Isle of Skye, and there's some hotels and restaurants there when you're driving through. If you need an ATM, they have that there. But if you go from Porridge and you go up the coast, you're going to see some really cool, there's a couple of really cool waterfalls. One is the Leeds Falls, and the other one, you go to the Kilt Rock, which is up on the side. It's basically a sheer cliff that looks like a kilt. And this is Kilt Rock over there, because it looks like a kilt. And the waterfalls right here. I mean, it is just beautiful right here on the Isle of Skye. You get a chance, definitely come, but make sure it's during nice weather. But in the summer it's packed here, so make sure you're preparing yourself beforehand, finding a place to stay. And then there's a couple waterfalls right by there. Also, there's a mountain there called the Old Man of Storr, which is one phallic rock sticking up in the air next to a little mountain range. Okay, that's really cool. Also, here on the Isle of Skye, there's a lot of artisans. So there's a lot of weavers. I mean, you want to go weave on your own, make your own wool, stuff like that. They have that here. All kinds of great places all over the place from the top to the bottom. Just drive by, you'll see them announcing their stuff on the side of the roads. Okay. Also, the Isle of Skye has their own distillery, Talisker Distillery. You can go there, have the tour. It's open Monday through Saturday. There's 14 people working there. Half of them are from the family that's owned it for years and years and years. Also, if you love hiking, there's plenty of places to hike here. You go to I think they're called the Cullen Mountains, the Cullen Hills, which are these amazing, basically mountains, but we'll call them hills, that you can go hiking through. It's just beautiful. You'll see them right when you come onto the island. They're just to die for, all right? And then, actually, before you get onto the Isle of Skye, you're going to pass by this beautiful castle called the Eileen Donan Castle, which you've seen in James Bond. If you ever watched the Highlander films or the Highlander films, the TV show, it's in there as well. It's a beautiful castle right before you get on the Isle of Skye, about 10 miles from the Isle of Skye. That is great. If you're coming to Scotland, kind of off the beaten track is getting to the Isle of Skye. It's not easy to get to. The driving can get a bit much, but it is amazing because it gives you views like this, castles like this. Now, some other tips for the Isle of Skye. When you come here, guys, booking accommodation, book 6 months in advance because there's not, it's bed and breakfasts here, but they book out like that. It's crazy. It's hard to get stuff. So a lot of times what you have to do is stay outside the Isle of Skye in a small town like Plockton. That's where I stay when I come here. You know, you can just drive in because you're going to rent a car anyway. You drive in, see all the stuff. It's fine. But if you want to stay on the island, you have to book well in advance. If you stay in a hotel, it's very expensive. So, since you're going to be driving around anyway to see stuff, just you can stay off the island and just rent a car in. It's up to you. But make sure you book early. All right? Also, in terms of eating here, you're going to need to reserve because in the high season, all the restaurants are booked all the time. So make sure when you like a restaurant, you're going to be in the same town the next day, book a reservation for the next night for dinner because it does get a little difficult to find a place to eat. All right? Okay, now the first thing I want to talk about is the Edinburgh Castle. This thing right up here beside me, okay? In there you have royal rooms, you have the Scottish crown jewels, you have there's just all kinds of relics, there are all kinds of cool stuff to check out. Okay, also there's the St. Margaret's Chapel up there, which is the oldest part of the castle. It costs you about £13 to get in, but it is definitely worth it. There's usually a line to get in, so be ready to wait about 20 minutes to get in. All kinds of stuff, but it is really, really cool. And also when it has the Edinburgh International Festival, that's where a lot of the stuff takes place. But it is very cool. First thing you should see when you come here. Number 2, the thing you should come see when you're here in Edinburgh, the St. Giles Cathedral. It's on the Royal Mile when you're walking down from here, from the castle down the hill. There, it's really cool because you have what's called the Thistle Chapel, which has amazing woodwork in it. And they have, and then outside that, just in the cathedral in general, they have amazing stained glass that you're really going to enjoy to check out. Also, out in front of the cathedral, there's a little heart, and you'll see people spitting on the heart. That is for good luck, and also to come back to Edinburgh, kind of like a thing. And you'll see people, normal people, walking by and spitting on it. So make sure you do that when you come here to make sure you come back to Edinburgh.
The third thing I think you'd want to see when you're here in Edinburgh. From here, you have the Edinburgh Castle, then you keep going down the Royal Mile. At the other end, you have what's called the Holyrood House, or the Palace of Holyrood House. That is the Queen's residence when she's here in Edinburgh. Okay? Inside, they have the throne room, the state rooms, all these things. Some amazing artwork there to check out. Now, when the Queen's here, you can't see it. But when she's not, it is worth it to go in. I mean, they have all kinds of little things going on there, so check it out. We were lucky enough to see some bagpipes guys and drum guys coming yesterday. I mean, it was really kind of cool, so definitely want to check that out. Now, the fourth thing you want to see, sorry for all the noise and traffic. This was a very quiet square until about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, the fourth thing you want to see is what's called the National Gallery of Scotland. In there's a lot of old masters. You can see some Raphael, there's some El Greco, there's all kinds of good stuff there, like traditional artwork to see. It's not the biggest national gallery in the world, but it is very nice. When you're here, it's worth to check it out, okay? It's just on the other side of this hill where the castle is, okay? Next, after the National Gallery, right next to the National Gallery of Scotland, you have what's called Princess Street Gardens. These wonderful little park that gives you this view of the castle, but from the other side. Okay, it's a really nice place to just relax, take some food, take some drink, and just chill out with your friends, your family, whoever, and have a nice view of the city, of the castle. Also, Princess Street is where all the boutique shops are, so if you want to do some shopping in Edinburgh, that's probably where we're going to be doing it, okay? Next thing, like I said, between the Edinburgh Castle and the Holyrood House, you have what's called the Royal Mile. This is the street connecting the two. On there, you're going to have museums, pubs, restaurants, shops, and amazing architecture. That's where the St. Giles Cathedral is, all these things. You're going to be walking up and down it about 50 times when you're here, so don't worry, you'll see it, okay? And it is really, really cool. Just walking up and down it and taking the architecture. Very cool. Again, that's why it's one of the top 10 things you should do when you're here in Edinburgh, okay? Now, number 7, when you look at Holyrood House, you're looking down there and there's two kind of hills. There's a big kind of natural looking hill on the right side, that's good for hiking. But the one I want to tell you about is what's called Calton Hill, which is on the left side, and there's a bunch of monuments on it. There's one for Nelson, there's even one for Abraham Lincoln on there. Okay, go check it out. It's a nice view of the city. The monument's really cool to check out, and it's just kind of like a nice little easy hike to do to see these things. All right. Number 8, we have this place here where I am now, Grass Market. Here, I'll show you real quick. Take this from my cameraman. Grass Market, this is where all there's a bunch of pubs, restaurants, boutiques, women. If you're looking for some vintage clothing, this is where you're going to be heading. This is some really cool stuff here you want to check out. I mean, I'm just giving you the square part of it here. This is definitely one of the coolest places to come. I always like coming here. Good restaurant, all kinds of international fare, not just haggis and haddock fish. Okay, Grass Market. Next, if you want to go a little bit farther out of town, it's still kind of Edinburgh. It's, £1.50 or £1.20 to go there. You have Rosslyn Chapel. You may have heard this before if you read the Da Vinci Code. It's in there. It's probably one of the resting places of the Holy Grail. Inside, there's amazing stonework, which just going to see the stonework is worth it just in itself to get there. But they have, the 7 deadly sins. They have the devil tied up upside down. It is crazy, awesome stonework that you really should go check out. It is definitely worth a taxi ride or the bus ride out there to go check it out, okay? And the 10th thing that I recommend that you do when you come into Edinburgh, and my favorite thing, which is the biggest surprise to me, the Museum of Childhood. Yes, the Museum of Childhood. It's not a children's museum, it's a museum of childhood, so it talks about all the stuff with childhood, from clothing to toys, which is cool because you can see all kinds of toys from the last 200, 300 years. Clothing, toys, sanitation, like hygiene. They talk about kids brushing their teeth and getting washed and stuff like that. This really tells you all about the history of basically kids for the last 300 years, 200 years. Okay, so it's really cool. And also what's cool is it's free. Okay, of course, now we have a big shopper behind us. It's free to check out, okay? So, my recommendation for the 10 things you should see when you're here in Edinburgh. First off, Edinburgh Castle, which is right behind me. Number 2, the St. Giles Cathedral on the Royal Mile. Number 3, the Palace of Holyrood House, which is also on the Royal Mile. Number 4, the National Gallery of Scotland. Number 5, the Princess Street Gardens. Number 6, the Royal Mile itself, just walking up and down it is just cool and fun. Okay. Number 7, Calton Hill, where they have all these monuments. Number 8, here, Grass Market, a nice place to chill out and have some drinks and some food.
Number 9, Roslin Chapel, south of town. Definitely worth checking out. And number 10, my personal favorite, the Museum of Childhood. You will love coming to Scotland. But if you're going to come, make sure you rent a car, because public transport is the best around here. It goes everywhere, but not very often. So best to rent a car. Now, here are the top 10 things you should do when you're here in Scotland. First off, I'm here in Edinburgh now. You see that castle up there? That's Edinburgh Castle. All right. Inside, they have amazing staterooms. They have the crown jewels of Scotland, all kinds of stuff. All right. That's one of the cool things to check out. Behind it, it's called the Royal Mile. There's a road there that has the St. Giles Cathedral, Holyrood House, or the Palace of Holyrood, which is where the Queen stays. There's amazing museums here, the National Gallery of Scotland, the Museum of Childhood. Okay, if you go farther out of town, Edinburgh, you have Roslin Chapel. I mean, guys, there's tons of stuff to see in Edinburgh. It is an awesome town. If you got a weekend, just come here and stay a week in Edinburgh, no problem, okay? Now, the second place you want to come to, well, this isn't really ordered, this is just the top 10. So another place you want to come to, so number 2, is Glasgow. Glasgow, well, Edinburgh's the capital. Glasgow's kind of the financial capital. That's where a lot of the happening stuff is, okay? It's a lot more metropolitan there. Now, having said that, they still have a lot of history stuff there. You know, the Victorian city and the merchant city are amazing. The architecture is very cool. There's some really good art galleries, or amazing art galleries there. You have the Barrel Collection, and then you have what's called the Hunterian Art Gallery. I mean, these are top-notch art galleries, guys. You want to check them out when you're there. Also, there's a really cool science center in Glasgow that is very nice. All right? Of course, now that I'm doing this thing, the garbage guys are coming. All right? Third place to check out when you're in Scotland, the Isle of Skye. Guys, this is... Scotland has a lot of islands that feel like they've been left to the barrens of time. Isle of Skye is one of them. You're going through, there's just amazing landscapes to see there. The Cullinan Hills to go hiking on. There's waterfalls all over the place. There's cliffs. I mean, it is just to die for. And also, Isle of Skye, you have the hairy cows. The Highland cow. It looks like basically a cow with horns and a shag carpet on it. It is really cool. And one of the coolest castles you will see in Scotland, and also you'll see in movies like Highlander or James Bond movies, stuff like that, is the Eilean Donan Castle, which is not right on the Isle of Skye, but it's right when you're coming into it, okay? So the Isle of Skye is number 3. Number 4, Inverness and the Black Isle Peninsula. Inverness doesn't really have a lot of stuff to see itself as a town, but by it there's all kinds of things. One, Cotter Castle, which is it's Macbeth's castle. Okay, you have a few battlefields by there. You have some monolithic stones to check out. There's also, when you go up, it's easy to get to Loch Ness, but I'll go to Loch Ness later. And also to get up to the Black Isle. This is an amazing peninsula with a great landscape. Drive through there. Go to a town called Fort Rose. Okay, there you can go and drive out and park by a lighthouse and watch dolphins swimming. Okay, they're the most northern dolphins I think in the world. And you can go and watch dolphins about 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Fort Rose, right by their lighthouse. It is truly beautiful and truly amazing. Okay. Number 5, guys. There's one reason I wanted to come to Scotland since I was 5 years old: the Loch Ness Monster, and that's why it's on the list of number 5 and things you should do when you go to Scotland. Going to Loch Ness and looking for Nessie. There's tons of T-shirts. There's tons of Loch Ness Monster sighting stuff. It's just really cool to go there, and it has a beautiful landscape just to drive along the loch and see things, and just do your best to find Nessie, because she's there, and when you go there, you'll see how it can be hard to find her, okay? Okay, number 6, things you should do when you're in Scotland. If you go to Aberdeenshire, okay, by Aberdeen, which is kind of the hub of North Sea oil, there's all kinds of castles around there. They call it the Castle Road, okay? And there's all kinds of them up there. You have... See if I get some of the names off the top of my head. Well, first, if you go to the very north, there's not all castles. Some are stately homes, like the Duff House, which has an amazing art collection inside. You have Fyvie Castle, which is really cool to check out as well. Balmoral Castle, which is one of the coolest castles in Scotland. Okay, there's that as well. All right, so just have your car and just drive around, because there are so many castles in Aberdeenshire. They have pamphlets just for the castles. Okay, it's like Castle Road. It's very easy to figure out. If you get to Aberdeen to stay or somewhere there, just ask them for the information. All right, we'll let the garbage truck go by. All right, number 7 in the places you should see in Scotland, the Orkney Islands. Guys, this is like going into some prehistoric, land. Okay, it's battered by wind and rain and all kinds of stuff. There's tons of prehistoric ruins there. Bray is there, some just awesome ruins. I think it's like 2500 BC, something like that. I mean, it is really cool just to drive around and see it because you really feel like you're in some prehistoric movie. Okay, it's really cool. Number 8 in things you should do: hiking in Scotland. Guys, go to the Highlands and hike anywhere you can, because there's trails for people, for 3-year-olds to 103-year-olds. Well, maybe not 103, but there's places for all levels to go hiking, and because the scenery is so magnificent. One of the coolest heights is from Glasgow to Fort William. Okay, and you go through, starting Glasgow hiking, you go a little bit through the Highlands. Also, you get up to Ben Nevis, and Ben Nevis is the highest mountain in Scotland, so that's a really cool hike. Number 9 in things to do here in Scotland, 10 things you should do. Go to Stirling. Stirling has been a historic city in Scottish history. It's where, if you ever watch Braveheart, the Battle of Stirling Bridge, it's William Wallace's big win, that was there. That was in 1297. In 1314, that's when Robert the Bruce won independence for Scotland, was there, okay? And you go to Stirling, you have a lot of monuments to that. There's a William Wallace monument. There is, there's Stirling Castle, which itself is amazing to check out. Great views and also great stuff to see inside with the stately apartments. Also, the town of Stirling itself is really, really quaint. And number 10, a place you should come check out when you're here, Durleyton. Durleyton is a little bit east of Edinburgh. This is just literally like if Disney made a Scottish town, that is it. There's the castle, there's the cute streets, there's all kinds of stuff. It really looks like it's a postcard picture. So you want to check it out. So the 10 things you should come see when you're in Scotland. I mean, there's a lot more, guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to the very north. I didn't get all the way to the Shetland Islands. I didn't get down to the Borders regions in the very south next to England. So there are more things out there. If you have more, please put them in the comments so more people can see this, because Scotland is amazing, guys. So our 10 things you should see. 1, Edinburgh. We got the castle behind us right there. 2, Glasgow. 3, the Isle of Skye. 4, Inverness and the Black Isle Peninsula. 5, Loch Ness and the Highlands. I'm going to put those together. 6, the Castle Road in Aberdeenshire. 7, the Orkney Islands. 8, hiking in Scotland, probably from Glasgow to Fort William. Number 9, Stirling. And number 10, Durleyton. Now, guys, when you come to Scotland, it's a great time. They use the pound here, so if you have your money from England, you can use that. But they have their own kind of pounds here, so you'll see sometimes you have a problem converting it back when you go back to England. But usually, if you go to a bank, they have no problem with it. But I just really wish you guys would come to Scotland. It is really, truly beautiful and amazing, and the people really make it a great thing. And also, the food here isn't as bad as they say. Haggis, as I talked to my bartender yesterday when I had it, he said, "Oh, we've taken out a lot of the intestines and just made it more meaty." And it's true, it's actually not bad now. And if you're here, you're going to eat a lot of fish. That's your best bet, okay?